No off day today for the Buffalo Bills as they get ready to host the Miami Dolphins for Thursday Night Football, and no changes to the team's injury report according to head coach Sean McDermott. Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, again not practicing, though McDermott did say Milano potentially could practice tomorrow. And the Barnes from Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes from Injured. For help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. We'll get more on today. Sal Capaccio will join the show at 5 p.m., so do stay tuned for that. Speaking of injuries, bad news for Tampa Bay. Edge Kalijah Kancey suffered a torn pec. He is going to be out the remainder of the season. And the Bengals, they are making some quarterback signings as Burrow officially hits IR. Sean Clifford and former Bill Mike White are signing to the team's practice squad. 12 games left in the AL East race. Toronto currently has a 5-game lead on the Yankees. Toronto is down in Tampa just after 7:30 tonight. And the Yankees, they're in Minnesota versus the Twins. That game at 7:40. The Mets also in action just after 7. They will be hosting San Diego. And the Bisons, they are home against Scranton. First pitch for that game just after 6 o'clock. And you can listen to that game over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's funny to call it that. I was talking to a guy that you've been close with and have admired over the years, Adam Krautwurst.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Earlier today. Co-owner in fantasy leagues with me.
Don't tell him, and I don't want to talk about this on the air ever, but I have a shrine built in my home for him, for Adam. Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
It's a little. For now, it's in the basement. I didn't want to alarm my family, so they don't even know it's there. It's hidden behind a couple of things, but I do. Before like Sundays, I go down there and.
Autographed flag football jersey.
Yeah.
Maybe a draft board or two as well.
Sure.
From one of his many championships.
A screen grab from the appearance I made on your fantasy show last summer.
Winning team.
Yeah.
So I was talking to him today. Just haven't seen Adam in a while since Kentucky. Like, how's the season going so far? We're texting all the time about lineups and stuff. And he's like, it's pretty good. I feel the same way. Pretty good start. And he just sort of randomly said, I realize there are only 3 quarterbacks in the NFL I enjoy watching.
I'd say that's a pretty low number.
How many would you say would be for you? I mean, you famously said yesterday, put any 2 teams on at any hour, I'll watch it. So you're not that discerning when it comes to...
No. What I said was put any 2 teams on at 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
And I'll watch it.
Okay.
Because I know I'm going to get there, and I barely made it to the end of it. There was a gap in there. I did not exactly see how Tampa got down to the 2-yard line. But I saw the winning touchdown. Anyway, I certainly like that guy, Baker. I like watching him. I like watching I got way more than 3. I don't know, a dozen?
You were starting to say Penix?
Penix, yeah. It might be a dozen or more for me.
Okay. He said 3, and I sort of related to this take. I think I'd probably have to say, I like watching all of it, right? But he's like, there's only 3 guys right now that are doing it for him. Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Mayfield. Mahomes is annoying because, it's Mahomes. You might have a Mahomes problem to begin with, but, they just can't. Yeah. You see him just missing deep balls. It reminds me of Allen when he was younger, where you would have this mammoth athletic talent, and a lot went well. But then he would go deep for John Brown, and it'd be 5 yards over his head. There's sort of these sources of frustration.
I think even into the 19 season, we were waiting for him to find some accuracy in that area.
At least, for me, yeah. But Mayfield, definitely. I thought of this last night, too, and was sort of amused when Adam told me what he said about Mayfield. I made a point about that last night watching that game. This guy is fun. Because a lot happens when he plays.
Yeah.
Some of it's bad.
Yeah.
A lot of it's good. And what you missed, apparently, was an amazing play he made on 4th and long to save that drive. The game is probably over without it. And he just sort of squirms out of trouble, almost like Cook on his touchdown on Sunday.
Oh, I saw that. I missed the Irving. I think there were 2 Bucky Irving plays that got down to the 2, and I missed that. So I think I saw this play and then conked out.
Yeah. He is interesting. He's fun. And I want to talk about him some more later. But
was that on that? I know there was a play last night. It might have been this play where he appeared to be hurt, and then defender was kind of standing over him, like he was going to like talking trash to him, and Mayfield like sprang right up, like I'm fine, I'm good to go. If you're crap talking me, I'm ready. Yeah.
He's I think somebody, if that's your team, at least now, you're super happy.
Yeah,
he's not the best.
No,
but. You would love him if he were,
and if you're
quarterback.
If he's the quarterback of a team that you consider a rival, he might be pretty annoying.
Yeah,
there's a swag there that doesn't work for everyone. But I like him. I didn't really like that about him when he came out, but just the ride he got from Cleveland, I've just been pulling for him ever since he left Cleveland, basically. So I'm glad to see him doing well. But holy cow, 2 game-winning drives, like game-winning touchdown drives as the clock expired here in 2 weeks. That's
pretty much.
That's something else, man.
Pretty much. He's on the Bucs when the game here 2 years ago with Tampa having a chance to win on the Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm. That's him, yeah.
Thursday night game. Mayfield's on that team. So I thought you'd like that. I want to bring him back up.
3. Yeah, I don't know. I just ran through and counted. I don't have that many in the AFC. Allen is on my list. I'll put Herbert on. I like watching Herbert play.
Okay. What about Jalen Hurts?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. I think there's only 4 in the AFC, so I might be stretching to say a dozen or more.
Bloom was off the rose on Stroud, and Ben off the rose on Lawrence, and Tua. May maybe want to get a look at him.
Yeah.
Burrow's out.
Yeah, May is on my list.
Is a no.
No, right.
Geno.
No. I don't really like. I'm going over the NFC. I don't really like watching Goff that much. He's good. I just don't like watching him. I like Prescott. I like Jaden Daniels. I like Penix. My boyfriend Stafford, Mayfield. I got more guys in the NFC, I guess, as it turns out. Love, yeah.
A lot of those guys are fine.
Yeah, I'm straining to say Love, I think. But if I want to get to a dozen, I think I need them.
I think what the threshold is for me, let's stay here. We can get to the power rankings. I think where the line is for me, and this is why I related to Adam's take, is Allen, Jackson, Mayfield, and I think Mahomes would have to be this, give you the element of surprise, the element of something wild could happen here. And it's usually good, not always. And I think a lot of those other guys that are more, I don't want to say system quarterbacks like it's a negative, it certainly wouldn't be in terms of like Stafford or Goff. I mean, they've both won a lot, and others. Even Justin Herbert, I guess I want to say. But you just kind of like mostly know what you're going to get. They're going to drop back, and they're going to hit their guy. Like, it's not going to be
There's no rabbit out of the
different.
hat, really. Yeah,
It's not going to be like something surprising ever with a lot of those guys. And Hurts is that too, but Hurts has got the tush-push element and the, his passing upside, again, this year so far is just like not high because maybe they're too good again. I don't know. But those other, Allen, Jackson, Mayfield, Mahomes, can give you something. Mayfield would have to be 4th there, but they could give you something that you've just not seen that you'll be talking about or remembering for a long time maybe. And that's what he came up with last night against Stroud. I mean, poor Stroud at this point.
2nd and 16. It feels like Houston is in 2nd and 16. I heard Joe say that exact thing this morning, and that's exactly how watching that game felt. It's not literally true, but it feels like they are in 2nd and long a lot. Just is not. They do not stay ahead of the sticks. It doesn't seem, Houston. So yeah, he. I don't. It's the whole thing. I don't want to necessarily blame him for it, but they're a frustrating watch on offense, Houston.
Yeah, 0-2 now. So I mentioned I'm dropping all the names here. Adam Krautwurst. Now I'm going to mention Davis Maddock. I thought you would like this. It's one of those moments I had last night, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I thought of this when he tweeted a certain thing. I'm like, okay, I got tomorrow. I feel like this is good. We'll have Ross Tucker today, and I want to put this to Ross. Davis Maddock tweeted last night. So here's Baker Mayfield, who's having a nice game. This is probably before the game is over. And it's Buck and Aikman talking. And here's the tweet. It will never not be funny when Baker is referred to as a comeback story, and the thing he came back from was being a Cleveland Brown.
Yes, I saw that. That's exactly why I'm telling you I like him. That's why I'm rooting for him. That's not a commentary on his play, but he became like this sympathetic figure for me. And, his play is good enough for me to kind of get behind him. Obviously, if he wasn't that talented, he wouldn't be starting anymore, and there'd be nothing to really care about liking him for. And
there's that, too, to talk about, and there always is with the NFL, how close maybe he was to washing out.
Yeah.
And, you take him or even Geno Smith, maybe, I don't know. It wasn't a good night for Geno Smith, so not the day to sort of tout Geno Smith. But guys that there's a player in there, but the league almost gives up on looking for it. And then they just go down in the bust channels, and you never know.
And this year's candidate for that is Daniel Jones, maybe.
Absolutely.
Early in the, can he do that? Can he sort of reclaim? I was a first round pick. I had certain talents, skill set that were interesting and intriguing enough to get me drafted that high, and just it hasn't gone very well at all. And so far, so good with a new team. So yeah, maybe he's next into that class.
The thing that Davis's tweet had me thinking about a lot was, so Mayfield and Josh Allen, of course, are drafted on the same night. Only, 6 picks apart. Mayfield's 1, Allen's 7.
Mm-hmm.
Darnold in between. Darnold to a Jets franchise that is similar to the Browns and what the Bills were. And it's just sort of like the story of how the Bills ceased to become a team that you would mock like this, right? I mean, the Bills are not that team anymore, and they haven't been for 5 years. And they're almost already home to a 6th division title in a row. And the Browns are still the Browns. And so it will never not be funny when Baker is referred to as a comeback story, and the thing he came back from was being a Cleveland Brown. Like, when the Bills drafted Allen, I didn't think that much of Allen, but I thought less of the Bills, I think. Like, the part of the calculus was, who's going to succeed here? You know? Like,
yeah.
This is the Browns. Like, this is a team that has been through lots of quarterbacks. They were not as bad as the Browns were, but they were never good after, mostly Jim Kelly. Like, they were always scrambling for somebody. And what did the Bills give off that made you think they were a good landing spot for a quarterback? And so it's just, it seems like, I know we're into the season now, and maybe this is a better conversation for July, but just like, how did they do it? How are the Bills not the Browns anymore? How did they do it? The easy answer is Allen. And, if without him, maybe they still are the Browns. Maybe they pick Josh Rosen, or they pick different, and they're the same as they've been for the previous 20 years or so.
Yeah.
But it's more than that.
Yeah, it's the stability that McDermott created. It's a lot easier to look back on it now and be complimentary of it. At the time, there was a lot of okay, coach hand clap and process and all this sort of sloganeering stuff that was happening that really preceded any kind of winning. I mean, they made the playoffs in his first year, but they weren't a force really. And then, of course, 18, Allen's rookie year, was a big step back. But the stability, how the Browns, is Stefanski there when they get Mayfield?
No, Freddie Kitchens.
Okay. So, I mean, you're starting, that even just sounds like a bad idea. I don't know, just Freddie Kitchens, what? He was an NFL head coach, the number 1 overall draft pick. They did a great job of sort of, I don't know, insulating isn't quite the word here, but they built something around Allen that Allen could just sort of step into, and once he learned how to play, they were off to the races because they had everything else kind of in place, I think.
In fact, Freddie Kitchens' Bulldog is Mayfield's 3rd coach.
With the Browns?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Right. Well,
Hugh Jackson.
There it is.
And then halfway through that season, Greg Williams. So Greg Williams had 8 games of, I'm not sure Mayfield played them all, but that's Mayfield's rookie season.
Yeah.
I thought about this with Darnold all the time. He was the easier comp with Allen, like just that they were in the same division. And I think if the Bills, I don't know this, I think if the Bills pick one, they pick Darnold that year. But I don't know. Mm-hmm. Still, like, they're almost side by side, playing twice a year, and the Jets just churned coaches, and the Bills didn't. And I think the significance of that 17 drought breaker maybe can't be overstated, because McDermott earned so much status from that.
Yep.
And that was a super lucky team. Like, they were bad, but they did it. And so my attitude about that team, sort of is the foundation of why, like, this is never going to work. I mean, who's Sean McDermott? Like, this is never going to work.
Right.
And they were able to, because of 17, I think, afford themselves that kind of stability. And Bean comes in, and they're not recycling coordinators all the time. They've done not that much of that, and McDermott is still here. And so if you will, they got it up early enough so that then there weren't those questions anymore. 19, they're in the playoffs again with Allen.
Right. Yeah.
And since then, there's been no serious questioning, like coaching change stuff. Fans do it. Once in a while we do it, but I don't think anybody's doing that seriously from within, because they've done all this winning.
Yeah. The 17 season is important, I think. It just from, of course, the roster turns over, and like everyone's not here moving forward, but Hyde and Poyer are here. Deion Dawkins, right, is here. That's his rookie year.
Milano.
You've got like sort of, we saw this guy do it. These guys are becoming the leaders of the organization, like in the locker room, right? Hyde, Poyer, Milano, Dawkins, that crew. And, yeah, the credibility that comes with that, it just makes it easier for those guys to, like, sell the program to everyone else who shows up. And without that, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just it's a different. Allen walks in the door in 18 and has they have a bad record, and he's erratic. And maybe if they don't have that playoff appearance in their pocket, they're antsy. Players are, I don't know if I believe in this and whatever. But the buy-in level was extremely high based, I think, with the veterans on the team, because they had seen it work. However fluky it was, we did it. We ended the drought. We got to see what this fan base can be like when they're happy. For the first time in a very long time. Not that we were miserable every day of our existence during the drought, but
most days
to finally get that get over that hill was a big deal, I think.
So being a Cleveland Brown has not changed in this 7 or 8 years since that draft, and it's not just Allen, as you're saying. I feel like here's Terry Pagula in this. And he'll always be the guy, Terry and Kim, who chose McDermott. And I think, we kind of revisit this every once in a while. Like, Freddie Kitchens may not have been a serious idea. I'm not even sure Greg Williams at the time was a serious idea. So, like, there's certain credibility questions. Adam Gase with the Jets, we talked about this. You bring this up all the time when it came to Tyrod Taylor in that quarterback competition when the Bills got him for the first time. Like, well, I've never seen him fail. And the Browns and the Jets were hiring coaches that had failed. Like, maybe that's harder to build from. Mm-hmm. But one thing, I wonder how Terry would, like, recall this, like what he would say. It's an article I'd read. McDermott, who had been a defensive assistant for his entire career, whatever, for however long, Philadelphia, then Carolina, the one thing you would say about him is, like, he's a serious guy. Like, I think Rex Ryan was unserious. Mm-hmm. He had success in the league, but you're kind of a joke when he's your coach, and he hasn't been back, right? Like, he's a blowhard. Mm-hmm. Like they're on the tandem bike with his brother. Like, right. They're easy to make fun of. And coaches, owners, managers are always often, usually hiring coaches that are different from the predecessor. And he couldn't be more different.
I wonder if they had chosen someone other than Rex Ryan in between Marrone and McDermott, whether Pegula would have been drawn to McDermott in the first place. Because the point about, and Pegula said it at the news conference, he wanted the organization to be respected again. That to me was a commentary on Rex Ryan being his head coach and eating dog biscuits and the Clemson helmet and the tandem bike, like you said. And we've poked fun often over the years in hockey too. Like you're changing from the good guy player coach to the mean mustache coach, and like that cycle just sort of goes on. And in this case, while Rex Ryan is a big, mean-sounding defensive guy, he's kind of a goofball and not a serious person. And if they had someone, maybe it was even Marrone, I wonder if the goal would have been the same for Pegula that drew him to McDermott and what his personality was like and how he presented and came across to him. Because I agree. I think he seemed almost too serious when he got here. But that, I think, was what Pegula was looking for, and maybe he wouldn't have been looking that hard for that if Ryan hadn't been the previous coach.
And I guess I kind of think, and my feelings about this have ebbed and flowed over the years, but that, I think there would have been a mutual respect, probably, Allen and McDermott, but they both in their time came to believe that they could win with the other, that maybe McDermott isn't Allen's dream coach, in terms of his background and maybe even his style. I don't know. I mean, there have been lots of conversations over the years about just like the two of them together. But Allen got so good that, okay, well, I respect this guy. He's got the defense, we can do this. And then you win and you win and you win. And it just becomes almost like even if you wanted to make a change, it becomes near impossible to do it because, they've had so much success. That's how I look at it. And then, you're kind of in the clear. And the Browns are just still not in the clear. Like they still, who has any idea who their quarterback or coach will be next year? And it's been 25 years of that with Cleveland. Just sort of, there's a lot of luck in it. And that 17 season is that in this equation, I think, for the Bills. Not that it was all luck. But you made the coaching change, and then Allen falls into an organization that has been somewhere and, is trending up, I think. Whereas Mayfield, Darnold do not have that luxury. Lamar Jackson, for his part, goes to an organization that had pretty recently won a championship with that coach.
Right.
And again, like that's one that is probably not, that's pretty stable when you have that you land on.
Yeah.
That he falls into.
Any one of these guys, like Allen in Cleveland, Lamar in Cleveland, with the instability, I'm imagining Lamar Jackson just sort of running around and they can't block. The coach really doesn't know what he's doing, and there's a continuation of the narrative about him pre-draft. Where he's like he doesn't really know how to play quarterback, and it's really that he's in like the worst possible situation you could put a guy into, and instead he lands in a spot where he doesn't have to play. Where he almost he waits a little longer than Allen did, but there's a structure there. Right? You can live in the house while you're filling the rest of the rooms in with furniture, right? Whereas the Browns and the Jets are just continuously moving from apartment to apartment, just trying to find somewhere where they can put down roots.
Baker Mayfield's comeback is from being a Cleveland Brown. I just love it. How did the Bills achieve all of this in comparison, by comparison with Cleveland? 803-0550 to weigh in. Ross Tucker and Sal Capaccio still to come today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. is Miami. Make it interesting. One of these years, somebody. Can anybody just sort of show up to play against this team in the division, or is that just not going to ever happen? I mean, wow. Yesterday was like an NBA game where it's early in the season and I don't know who's good anymore, but I don't want to make the show sound so old, just use like sort of the Lakers and Clippers realm of teams, but one team is just like way better, and you kind of know. Hockey isn't even like this. You kind of know sitting down to watch that game, if you're a fan of the lesser team, like you have almost no chance. Almost like wrestling. This I did not think of this game as that before it happened.
Feel that way going in because of the, comparisons style-wise that, the challenges that the Jets presented, at least that we thought they presented from a running the ball standpoint, a physicality standpoint. But, yeah, they were just no match. I mean, the Bills just right from the start of this game dominated it. They needed some help from the Jets in the form of penalties to get their offense on track early, but it didn't matter because the Jets were not going to move the ball. They just could not do anything on offense in this game. It reminded me of the way the Patriots used to look when they'd come in here to play the Bills. Not all the time, but occasionally just sort of felt like, did they even try? Did they even use their best stuff? I mean, what do we do? The Bills just showed up and sort of, workmanlike, I don't know, workmanlike / dominant is what yesterday felt like. Punch in, get some points, they can't touch you, punch out, go home.
I mentioned New England in that way yesterday, but I don't even remember many games like that, here at least, where you're hoping that you can beat them, but it's just like not even close. This game yesterday, if I'm a Jets fan at this game, I'm ready to leave in an hour. Like it's just, I'm punting at 20-0, or no, the 51-yard field goal for 20-3. Mm-hmm. Then I'm punting on another similar kind of situation, and like my guys just don't want to be here. Like this isn't really sports. This isn't like we're trying to win. This is what? Building a culture and all that stuff, like just
keep it close.
Yeah, I mean, there were lots of Bills games like that.
Mm-hmm.
But man, what a demoralizing result for New York yesterday to like not even belong on the same field. I mean, that doesn't happen. That hasn't happened between these two teams in New York in a long time. But it was like that yesterday, and to maybe compound it, you're hoping after last week that your quarterback might be something. You've got a young, talented, athletic player, and he had a very good game against the Steelers, even though they lost. And then, not at all in this game, and he gets hurt. Just, an all-time bad day for the Jets. Not to make it about them, but, as far as the Bills go, we weren't sure about their defense. And I want to kind of still not be all the way sure.
Sure.
But it seemed possible that they could get gashed here by a team that plays similar to Baltimore. I thought it was possible that would happen yesterday, and it was 180 degrees from
that. That's why I don't want to go too hard at it. Jets are going to Jets type of perspective here, because it's easy to default to that. But they did look like, I don't know, vastly different. They looked good last week, is what they looked, especially, I think, on offense. They gave up, I think, 34 points to Pittsburgh in that loss, but they moved the ball. The quarterback looked more than competent, looked like maybe ready to take a step, but that's been Fields' career. He is a tease. He will give you good weeks. The talent is always there. The athlete is evident when you see him move around on the field. And it's just inconsistent. And I'm most encouraged by the fact that it did not seem like the Jets could really block the Bills. After the job they did keeping Fields relatively clean against Pittsburgh and TJ Watt, talking about their new tackles, right? The first-round pick from last year, Fashiono, and Membo from this year's draft, doing a great job on TJ Watt, highest graded offensive lineman, according to PFF, through week 1. And they just could not handle the Bills up front. Joey Bosa looked, again, like a force.
It's a better team, and throughout the entire training camp and OTA portion, we understood that. We knew that. I'm just very proud of how he handled everything this offseason and didn't let it become a distraction, because he's looking as good as he ever has. So very happy for him and proud of him, and one of my favorite teammates I've ever had because of how he's worked through some of the minutia, and he's just kept his head down and worked extremely hard.
Sides, and 2 games in, one game wasn't much, or game 1 wasn't much, but then the Jet game, he'd be one of the 3 stars.
Absolutely.
If they had 3 stars.
Yeah.
He would have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that touchdown run was elite. I mean, he just did a great job in traffic, and then the speed. I mean, that was not, to me, an easy run. Like that, he did just a great job on that run. It's very much a run that you should remind me of anytime I talk about how anybody can do that job. Not everybody can make that run. He really did. There's balance, there's vision, and then just speed. Just really, really good.
Even the touchdown, well, the first touchdown, he had 2.
That's right, yeah.
And that's a short run, but it's also a little bit slick.
Crafty.
Just the way he turns his body to get the angles he wants and change direction is working well for him. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. We have Ross Tucker and Sal Capaccio still to come today. Let's go to Brad here. Hi, Brad.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to say 2 things. First, I'm disappointed the Bills aren't playing on CBS this week, because did you see they're having a throwback NFL Today show with retro set and graphics?
Yeah, CBS, that's right. Is it because of Jim Nantz, or is it for whatever other reason? Yeah, they talked about that on Sunday.
I think they just want to, get that nostalgia factor in. I also wanted to just go to your point, which I agree this is more like an off-season point, but just soaking in the good vibes of this team, the way they've changed, the fact that we think about the Bills as a good team and it's just not even questioned. I pulled up. Do you realize that Sean McDermott is the second longest tenured Bills coach in the franchise history?
Yeah, right. Closing in on first.
Lou Saban had 5 seasons. Sean McDermott is on his 8th season. And so I know it's easy. I've called before and said this, that, it's easy to get so tense about Super Bowl or bust. What are we doing here? Are the Bills going to go all the way? Does the season mean anything? I think it's really important that we soak up and enjoy all the joy this team brings to us now on a yearly basis, because it's not for granted. And I think that combination, we'll never know, what would have happened if they wouldn't have got in that playoffs that year, or, the butterfly effect of how that all shakes out. What I do know is the combination of Sean and Josh and what this franchise has become is really something to behold and really appreciate.
Yes. Thank you, Brad. I mean, I think it's probable, and this is no slight to McDermott or even Bean, but I think it's probable if Allen doesn't hit, then those guys are long gone, because you just probably won't make it without a quarterback that can at least get you to the playoffs. And then if you're that team, then you're Marvin Lewis or somebody, and we just get bored with that. So got to make a change. And, there are still people whose voices now will sound like the Bills have topped out. So anyway, so you need a good, if not great quarterback, I think, for a coach like Andy Reid has enjoyed, as good as we all think he is in Kansas City, and before that in Philadelphia. But there's more to it. It's got to be more of a team effort, and McDermott and Bean with player choices, Hyde and Poyer, who you mentioned, then Pagula hires them. I feel like it's right to share the credit for how the Bills are not the Browns. I mean, that's where we started here, is Davis Maddox tweet about Baker Mayfield coming back from, the one thing he's coming back from is being a Cleveland Brown. And they just have not established that yet. They got close with Mayfield and Stefanski. They got close. They made the playoffs in 20, and then they moved on from Mayfield. They were in the playoffs 2 years ago. The Browns have been in the playoffs more recently than the Bengals have with Flacco. But that, again, was not like a good team. That was just
that was a good coaching job, and you should still feel good that guy can figure out a way to make a journeyman work and still get it done. And they played, I think, did they not play 6 different quarterbacks that year before ending up on Flacco? I feel like there was a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So that's and I think he won Coach of the Year for that. So you've at least got that piece, but yeah, they're still sort of spinning their wheels. And I don't know. It doesn't have to be assumed that they'll get another shot at it. I might want to stick up for the guy if I were working in Cleveland, but nobody gets to do it forever, and you're going to have to get it right here.
5 different starters that season,
okay.
2023. Can you name 4? I could name 3, but I would not have been able to name the other 2 as I look at the list.
Well, Watson's one of them. Obviously, Flacco. There's a 3-name guy.
There is. Yep.
Dorian Thompson something.
Right. McEntee. Dorian Thompson McEntee. Robinson. I'm being correct. I'm being told. Hang on. Hold on. One sec. I'm being told it's Robinson, not McEntee.
In your ear there?
Yeah.
Okay.
PJ Walker.
Wow.
Jeff Driscoll.
Yeah. No.
Each both started games for for Cleveland 2 years ago. And then last year, it's Watson again. By this time, and then bleeding into 2024, they have to go to Watson. They've made that huge bet on him, and it just never worked. And I assume that's over. Here's Brian next. Hi, Brian.
Hey, guys. So in Cleveland, you've got a meddlesome owner now, but I don't know what you can really do with that. And being around Cleveland, I work there, and I still listen to a lot of Tony Rizzo. I have always thought they do not settle on general managers, and they kind of have increased the pace at which they change that over. So it started with Savage, and just off the top of my head, they've had Heckert, Kokinis, you had Banner and Lombardi, and that thing was a joke. Then you had Mike Holmgren, who just stole money from Cleveland because he lived in Seattle, never left. Ray Farmer, if I didn't say that. Sashi Brown with Paul DePodesta trying to do analytics. You had John Dorsey for a brief stint, and now you're on to Andrew Barry. And when you listen to them talk, they get a lot of flack down there, obviously, for not being able to identify a quarterback. But there's times that they don't even go to these quarterback pro days. And it's even down there, they're getting yelled at by their own fans, you think you're smart enough, and it's clearly not working. You're not outsmarting the league. And my other point would be, outside of quarterback, just look at their draft position. Naturally, they're picking at the top of all these rounds. How many times do they end up with a game changer? Very little. They had a chance to draft Julio Jones. They traded down for a center, and Alex Mack turned into an okay player. But it's individual decisions like that have just tanked that franchise, man. Justin Gilbert at pick overall 8 just tanks your franchise, man. They took a big nose tackle 11th overall in an era where you don't need nose tackles anymore. Danny Shelton, and he flamed out. So the number of high picks that they've had and squandered, to me, leans back to the scouting and the GM. If you can't do anything about the ownership, of course, then to me that's where it starts. They just cannot evaluate talent, even outstanding of quarterback, and that's pretty clear.
Well, the Bills have some number of missteps, and they get away with it. Maybe not as many or as important, but they can get away with it because Allen is a level above Mayfield, right? Mayfield gives you a chance. He's interesting. He's live. He gives you a chance. Allen almost makes the rest of the team game to game irrelevant. He's been think of the Baltimore game. What did the Bills do well? Him.
Cause a turnover.
They made their kicks. That's right.
That's really it.
One play on defense. They made all their field goals, and Allen just sort of won it for them. So I think that is where, because we're sort of comparing the two and maybe how delicate it is sort of no longer being the Browns and how fickle that might be. But the Bills still have an advantage over a Mayfield team where they're just going to win most games.
And it affords you, a miss is going to be a miss. If a guy can't play, guy can't play. But you do have, within the stability, right, and Allen being the giant eraser he can be at times, it gives you time to suss out whether or not these guys can help you or not. Like, the urgency to nail every pick is a little bit less. So the misses aren't as egregious in some way because you're able to overcome them. Like, nothing has really slowed the train down here for 5 years running. And Allen is the largest reason for that. So the misses don't stick to you as much. Like, we can, like, list them. I think most fans kind of maybe know them. But you have more time to find out if Cole Bishop can play, for instance.
Exactly.
Right? Like, we're in a panic here all summer, in part because McDermott, he didn't sound like he was in a panic, but I mean, he was very concerned, right? Like, just when he sounds like that publicly, I feel like behind closed doors, they're really worried about something. So he's telling you that, and we, to an extent, can take our cues from that. Like, oh, can the guy play? Let's get it some air. Let's get some air, and we'll see what happens here. And, we'll see. I mean, one game was really bad. A second game was really good. We'll see how the season goes. But there's less – it matters less how good your strong safety is if you've got that quarterback.
Right. That's what I mean. The callers rattling off Brown's picks. I mean, some of them, if they were Bills picks, be so what? Elam's like, so what?
Right.
Can't quite go that far because they needed him in the AFC Championship to be, serviceable, and he really even wasn't.
Right.
So the Bills have also hit their heads on, the Chiefs, as we know, but still, like, far more consistent success. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. We've got Ross Tucker at 4. This is WGR.
To be reckoned with here. It wasn't like there was gobs of snaps. The Jets didn't do much on offense, but when they did, the Bills were winning up front. And I want to take that away. I don't think that these tackles the Jets have suddenly are terrible. I think those are good players. I think the Bills just did a very good job up front. And went to school on what they needed to learn from how badly they got outplayed up front, especially at the tackle position on defense last week against Baltimore. We knew the Jets weren't Baltimore, but again, style-wise, Baltimore light. Athletic running quarterback, good, very good to great running back, and what looks like a promising young offensive line, at least at the tackle positions, and they just could not hold up at all in this game. So, credit to the Bills, but it was not quite a first-round knockout, but it was pretty close to that. I mean, they were the better team. They looked like the better team almost immediately, and they were.
And so 2 games up on the Jets, 2 games up on the Chiefs as well here in the early season. That's fun. New England at 1-1, Miami at 0-2, and Miami is in on Thursday night. Am I the only person that, when thinking about Miami coming in here now, thought of Ken Hitchcock with the Flyers when the 06-07 season started and the Sabres were just sort of rolling? I mean, to put it mildly, early in the season, and the Flyers, who the Sabres had exposed for looking old and past their good days the year before in the playoffs, showed up. And Buffalo won that game, I think, 10-1.
And everybody got fired.
And Hitchcock was, he got the ride home, I guess, but that was it. He coached, I had to qualify it with Flyers, because he coached for a long time after that.
Yeah, he did.
In the league, and probably did a lot more winning than we have.
I did not myself think of that, but I like it as a comparison.
McDaniel they'd better be on point. Like 0-2, they just look so. I saw the end of that game after the Bills game was over here as post-game started, and just like McDaniel was always looking down at the field and no good energy at all with Miami. They could have won, but New England gets them, so that's next. The line went from 8.5 to 12.5 today. Man. If it's even stopped. Right. Like, nobody is going to be on Miami here, which is a little bit unsettling in and
Sure,
of itself.
Can be, yeah.
I mean, you talked about the Jets not being able to block the Bills when they had the ball. Also, I mean, that went both ways. Really, you have an unusual game for Allen where he doesn't produce a touchdown, either on his, legs or with a touchdown pass. But Cook, I forgot to look. I mean, what did he even average yards before contact per play? Just like every play seemed like he was down the field before he even got touched. And I think fans think of the line as good, if not great. But I thought on the right side yesterday, Torrance and Spencer Brown, it was just a total mismatch. And Cook was able to, I mean, you didn't have any negative plays, right? Like he was just able to fall down for 5 yards on a running play. And then he broke the one, which was a great run.
Yep.
And when you can do that, no matter, when you can do that, you'll almost never lose. Unless it's the same thing on the other sideline. But this was the game. So for all the years this goes back, before Josh Allen. For all the years you watch football, and it just becomes more and more obvious that you have to have the elite quarterback to have a chance of winning. This was a rare Bills game where I don't think it mattered who the quarterback was for them. Like, it was just so easy up front. And Fields threw for 27 yards. That's like one good play. Just nothing was happening on the other side at all.
I think Trubisky threw for more yards.
He did.
On one completion.
He did. 32. Right. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
That was one where, not that you're hoping for this at all, far from it, but you kind of want to see, what happens if the Bills get adversity. And, okay, well, here's Josh Allen running off the field, and that's not what we're used to. And Allen was like, after the game, I probably could have or should have just stayed down to give Trubisky a chance to warm up. But, I'm bleeding, and my instinct is to get to the sideline, get help. And so Trubisky goes right in, and it's not even an easy throw.
3rd and 7 yards.
Welcome back. Ross Tucker coming up with us in about 15 minutes. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Bills and Dolphins Thursday night. We'll be out somewhere out there. Gate 5?
Near the Ralph Wilson statue. Is what I understand.
All right.
Is where our broadcast location is. So that's near the team store, the plaza at front. Yeah, this is where we'll be. For
during these hours, pregame. Right. We've got a schedule change to make today. Sal is moving to 6.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and put Al Michaels in at 5.
Look at you.
Yep.
Slick. Waiting till. Did you just hear from Al Michaels during the break?
Like an hour ago. I had to talk to Sal. Like when you make a trade, you don't announce it until you talk to the people involved.
Right.
I thought that would have been, proper.
Yes. Good move. All right.
Al is good for 15 minutes at 5.
I'm glad Sal could move to 6.
Fourth appearance, I believe.
I think that's correct. Yes.
I mean,
once a year.
He's moving up the list.
Yeah.
We've got our regulars. He's moving up, He's not to Armando yet.
No, but he's nothing against Armando. He's biggest.
He might be at Theo.
He's the biggest star repeat guest, I feel like, that we've had.
All right. Bigger star than Theo. I think he might be up there at Theo Greminger's level right now. 4 or so appearances. Is Theo past that?
I don't even want to acknowledge that this conversation is happening.
Okay, well. It is. I saw a Q-tip, by the way, since you said that. I saw a Q-tip by car today. You want to acknowledge you work at a place where people throw Q-tips
good to have that
on the
back.
parking lot.
Good
You do.
to have that back. Good.
You do.
Nice. Any more of those dental floss, the disposable flossers?
I don't ever see those.
I haven't seen those in a while either. But.
All right. Watched Bet Sweats this morning. Those guys are tilting over how the season is going so far, Sam and Joe.
Yeah.
They're both saying it. Joe was first to it today. It's just not supposed to be this easy. All the favorites are winning and covering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the league I grew up with. It's not supposed to be. So far in 2 weeks, teams favored by 4 or more are 12-0. And Evan Abrams had.
What, against the spread or just outright?
Overall.
Oh, okay. All right.
Was Dallas a 4.5-point favorite?
Yeah.
They win by 3. But no, they think of Survivor. Nobody's out yet.
Right.
And, aren't you used to sort of half the field going out in week 1 or something?
Yeah, I feel like I've made it to week 3 for the first time in one of these things, and I'd like there to be some carnage. But
no carnage.
There's no carnage.
I somehow have lost 2 of 8 entries with Minnesota losing on Sunday night. I had 2 Minnesotas. So that's great. I think it was week 13. Sam Panayotovich cited it this morning. 4-point favorites, or 4 or more point favorites, 64-7. Since some point maybe around Thanksgiving last year, 91%. So, that's not their thing is those are sort of the obvious bets. And when you're an expert, that's the last thing you want. You'd hate to bet with the public. You'd hate to bet.
Right. Steering people to obvious bets is not what you're there for.
No, right. And I think personally what you're there for is to avoid it. Well, if everybody's taking – that was the Bills game. I had this on the postgame show because Joe texted me in the morning that it was very unusual, he said, for one team in a game to have the most money on them and the opponent to have the most tickets. And that was the Bills and the Jets. The Bills were the most heavily bet team for tickets, but the Jets were the team with the most money bet on them at 6 points, and it wasn't even close. So, it's the tickets are like you and I betting $20.
Right.
And the whale has got $5,000 on the Jets, one ticket.
Right.
What happened? That's kind of
tough
the point.
Day for the whale. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the point. And they're talking about how you can get this on the Odyssey app weekday mornings. Sam is on our show on Fridays, Joe on Thursdays, that Sam talks to the guys who run the sports books, and they all tell him on Mondays, they all tell him the same thing. We need, last night, we need the Raiders. Because the Raiders were an underdog, and everybody's betting favorites because it's been so easy to do that. It's so obvious the Chargers would beat the Raiders and cover, and they did pretty easily. So your heart bleeds. Another loss for the book.
Right.
Another loss for the experts.
How will they survive?
I know, right? They're probably already closing down shops out there today. Ross Tucker coming up. Al Michaels today at 5. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Just laid it right out there
to Palmer.
Yeah.
So a lot of the, I don't know how much I would say there really was. The story after week 1 was the comeback. But whatever restlessness there was in the air about the defense and the team overall, I mean, it's the Jets and you can disparage them, but the Bills won so easily. It's like a few years ago when we were debating close games all the time. What are they supposed to do? Do you want them to take bad teams into close games so they can win more of their share of close games?
Be more battle tested or something, right?
No, you don't want that. You want them to hammer them.
Right.
That's what the best teams would do.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here.
And they did that without, Ed Oliver and Taron Johnson.
Right.
So it turns out, those are 2 of your best defenders. I don't want to, at least, generally speaking, I don't know, rank them all, but coming off week 1, Oliver was their best defensive player in the win over Baltimore, and Johnson is a very valuable part of that defense. And yeah, they didn't even really miss a beat. The kid stepped in and did a good job. And the Jets just could not just couldn't handle them. They just could not do anything up front to get the ground game going. They could not protect Fields. It was, it was almost masterful and boring. Kind of.
It was so boring.
It's just, we're better than you, and just,
This was close to a non-event, this game. This was not a game we'll remember for anything, except Allen's bloody nose.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's right, yeah.
Maybe, but the Jets, just come on. It's a joke. Well, it's what we probably mostly expected so far in the AFC East. The Bills are minus 1,100 after 2 games to win the AFC East, after being minus 250 before the season, and that made them the biggest favorite in the league for their division. We talked to Sam Panayotovich every Friday, and he always recommend the same bet. Put the Bills winning the AFC East with other things, just other kind of futures bets, so you can feel like you might be getting good value from them. And now, minus 1,100, that's more than quadrupled. Right. And they almost lost the opener, and it's still like that. Miami's a no-show. The Jets looked like week 1 was a fluke, and what New England did was beat Miami. I still think New England is worth considering as, maybe good. Maybe the Raiders are good, and they lose a close game to the Raiders, and I don't know. They haven't been an embarrassment or anything so far, but their chances of winning the AFC East are very long. So you've got that. You've got the win over the Ravens, and Baltimore is 1-1, so a game and a half, if you will, back in the race for seedings. And now Kansas City is 0-2.
And the Bengals are 2-0, but they lost their quarterback.
That's right.
So we'll see. Browning certainly did well enough yesterday, getting that win, and had a winning record the last time he had to play extensively, which he obviously will have to be doing now. Burrow, the talk is 3 months at least. So you're talking about Thanksgiving, maybe.
Christmas.
For Burrow to be back. So, it's going to be a stretch there, and the conference looks there for the taking, which is great news. We're 2 weeks in and nobody's ahead of them.
I thought I'm wanting to find what's interesting. Who might be? Is it going to be just nobody? Teams don't usually waltz to the top seed. Is it going to be like that or what? And I thought Pittsburgh was interesting last week, pushed by the Jets, but you just get twice as much information here. And maybe the Jets are that bad, and maybe Pittsburgh is just as bad. They lose to Seattle. Do you want to talk about the Colts at some point? They're the first team in NFL history to not have punted in their first 2 games in Indianapolis. And they steal that win. But they look like they might be interesting.
Yeah.
Houston is tonight. Jacksonville doesn't. Jacksonville that's depressing, that one. New coach, but...
Yeah.
Lawrence, how do you lose that game if you're Jacksonville without Burrow? In the lead late, how much easier do you want it? Still, they can't figure out how to win that game.
Right. It's like the Bills not.
Off day 4 of the Buffalo Bills. They get ready to host the Miami Dolphins for Thursday Night Football, and no changes officially to the team's injury report at Oliver. Matt Milano, again, not practicing, although before practice, McDermott did say that Milano potentially could practice tomorrow. And the Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by The Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call 1-800-8-million. For more on practice today, our own Sal Capaccio does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com, and do stay tuned. Sal will join the show at 6 p.m. Bad news for Tampa Bay. Edge rusher Kalijah Cansey suffered a torn pec. He is going to miss the remainder of the season. And the Bengals, they have made some QB signings with Burrow hitting IR. Sean Clifford and former Bill Mike White are going to the practice squad. And then over in baseball, just 12 games left in the AL East race. Toronto currently has a 5-game lead over the Yankees. Toronto is down in Tampa tonight just after 7:30, while the Yankees, they're in Minnesota versus the Twins. That game will get going at 7:40. Mets also in action. That game just after 7. They're hosting San Diego. And then here locally, the Bisons are home against Scranton. First pitch just after 6, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on the Western Hotline. Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Ross, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. I'm looking forward to coming up to Buffalo tomorrow night.
Okay, let's look at us.
Giddy up.
So we're talking to Ross here, who will be on, I assume, the radio call. And in an hour, we'll talk to Al Michaels, Ross. You know Al Michaels.
Wow.
Yeah, he'll be here too.
Now the one that took my normal 5 o'clock spot because my daughters had volleyball?
No, you moved. The story I was told is that you needed to move. So he'll slide in there today, though.
Yeah, and it's not a weekly thing with Al.
No.
I appreciate it greatly, and that's awesome. Al is obviously an absolute legend. It's amazing to me that people can still be doing what he's doing in his 80s.
So, Ross, Bills over the Jets, very smoothly on Sunday. Did you expect a tougher game?
Yes, I did. That was very, very surprising to me, and I would phrase it as highly encouraging. You know, we had seen in recent years, it just felt like those are the games that the Bills have lost in recent years. You know, it's like they get a big win over the Ravens, come from behind, everybody's excited, and then the next thing you know, they lose the very next week to the Jets or somebody that they shouldn't lose to. And we've talked often, I think every time I've been on this year, about the importance of the number one seed, the importance of making sure that they're able to close these games out so they get the number one seed, so they get the bye. The Ravens have already lost the game. The Chiefs have already lost 2. So certainly it's very early. We all recognize that. But it still remains a golden opportunity for the Bills, especially when you look at their division, to get the number one seed. They need to do that because it decreases their degree of difficulty to get to the Super Bowl significantly, is the way to phrase that, I believe.
Yeah, and they managed to win a game. They really were in control, had the game in a headlock right from the start, and cruised without Josh Allen really being taxed. He got smashed in the nose, and so he's probably had easier days himself from a health or physical standpoint. But man, he didn't have to do much at all in this game.
No, and that's highly encouraging. I would say the more games the Bills can win where Josh doesn't have to be Superman, the better off you are, right? That should be the goal. Is he's gonna have to be Superman sometimes. So the more games you can win where he doesn't have to be Superman, it kind of feels like you're it's like extra money in the bank, if that makes sense, right? Like, there's only so many games you can count on Josh to be Superman and to win because of that. So if there's some games you can get by without him having to do that should be a pretty good feeling. And quite frankly, based on the way these two teams are playing, I think you could certainly argue that, Thursday night is another one where you'd like to think that you can win that one without Josh having to be Superman.
Well, Ross, not to sound cocky here, but Thursday might be one of those challenges for a broadcaster. Unless the Dolphins, who have lost 13 out of 14 to the Bills already, can find, their A game. What is happening there? To me, this seems like a game with the extra time off after it, and this coach sounding, to me anyway, at least very defeated, Mike McDaniel. I don't know, if the Dolphins can't hang with the Bills or even win, I wonder if they might make a move there.
That's interesting. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. That's always a decision, too. It's like, who do we have in-house that's actually better, that it makes sense to actually do that? But certainly the Dolphins are in a really bad spot. Now, at least they were more competitive against the Patriots. At least their offense showed some signs of life, but they're pretty horrific on the defensive side of the ball. The thing is, guys, they came into the year, with major question marks in the secondary and the offensive line. And surprise, okay? I know this is going to shock you. Their O-line and secondary aren't good. I mean, if you come into the year and it's that clear to everybody, it's like, oh, my gosh, that's who they're going with on the O-line, or that's who they're going with in the secondary. Boy, that's not a good sign. I mean, you're in a bad spot when that's the case, because most of these teams, at least for the most part, feel pretty good, I would say, about what they have as they're entering the season, right? I mean, they feel pretty good about, who and what they have when they go into the season. And then you find out during the season, oh, wow, that guy's not really as good as we thought he was, or whatever. The Dolphins never even pretended. The Dolphins never even had that going into the season, acting like or feeling like they might be in pretty good shape at those positions.
Something I'm really interested to hear your opinion on, Ross, is when a team, what Miami did seem to try to do this offseason was change their culture, right? They had like borderline insurrection going on last year, no discipline, guys late to meetings, no discipline. It just seemed kind of rudderless. So Jalen Ramsey became maybe the face and the name of that, and he's still a very good player, a highly respected player, but he's sent out. And I wonder about guys that are left behind, if they already were maybe more on Jalen Ramsey's side than on Mike McDaniel's side, if that's not a sloppy way to put this. And like just getting rid of the guy that might have been the ringleader of the problems doesn't solve the problems, because you've still got probably, I'm guessing, maybe you know better than me from having been in locker rooms like you were, that you got guys left over that would prefer still having Jalen Ramsey on the team with a different coach.
Well, there's a lot there. I think the number one thing I would say about it is it's almost impossible to put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? Like, if you go in there and your first few years, you're very I've heard people say that they're player friendly, whatever that means. But you go in there your first few years and you're player friendly and you let the guys more or less do what they want to do and blah, 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 blah. Man, I think that's really hard to reel it back in then, right? Like, you've established who you are. You've established your culture. And so now you're going to try to change it? I mean, first of all, it's unlikely those guys will fall in line. Secondly, now they're wondering who you even are.
Right.
Like, hey, bro, we know who you are. Like, we know what kind of guy you are, what kind of coach you are. Don't, like, you can't now act like you're a disciplinary guy, or, like, that's not who you are, and we know it.
With Ross Tucker here on the Wester Hotline on WGR. Insider Calls brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. So, Ross, I assume you'll travel to Buffalo tomorrow, get to meet with coaches and maybe a couple of players and do your thing, just like I imagine Tom Brady does every week. This week he's got Cowboys and Bears. Next week the Bears play the Raiders, who he part owns. And there he is in the coach's booth last night. And the report is that he's talking to Chip Kelly 3 times a week, and the Raiders deny it. I almost thought Brady in the booth was like sort of trying to hide from the camera for a second, but he maybe knew he couldn't do that. That might be wrong. Ross, are we crossing a line here? It seems to me yes, but you're in those meetings, and maybe you think, and you know Brady from playing with him, well enough maybe to say, like, can he really avoid a conflict of interest there?
Well, so a few things. First of all, for radio, there really are no production meetings. That's kind of like the beauty of radio in the sense that you really just have to get there 2 hours before the game.
Okay.
And usually I just drive up, but because I'm doing Colts Titans Sunday for CBS, and I need to be at the Titans where that sort of blatant, flagrant, I don't know what word you want to use, but to put him in the coaching booth,
yeah,
I mean, it's almost like they wanted people to know that, or I think they definitely talked to, like, how much are you going to tell him? I wouldn't tell. I wouldn't tell. Now, he's not allowed to do it in person, so he has to be via Zoom. But I don't know. I wouldn't tell him very much. I don't think anybody would, right? You don't want to. These guys are already paranoid about potential competitive advantages, disadvantages. Even sometimes when they're talking with me, some guys are a lot more forthcoming than others. Now you're going to put this element into it. It's probably not good, really, for my industry in the sense that it probably makes coaches even a little bit more skeptical, and that's not good if they end up, going ahead and being even tighter with information when we go to do the games.
Yeah, I wonder if that – I mean, Tom Brady is such a massive celebrity, but I wonder if that would cause friction with – the people he works with at Fox, the people he's in the booth with. Like, if those meetings aren't as informative and useful as they have been, I don't know. Maybe it's the first step towards just not having them anymore. I don't know. Like you're saying with radio, you don't really do them. But it's just, if you're compromising the ability of other people to do the best job the way that they have been doing it for however many years, that's a tough look, no matter how big your personality is.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. One is, usually the guy making $37.5 million a year, like, he can kind of do what he wants, and you just have to go along with it. I learned that, for every team I played on.
Yep.
And then the other thing is, I don't want to say I have mixed emotions, but I think the production meetings and going to practice are very valuable, and I really appreciate meeting with players and coaches in person and the insight that they give us. I think it adds a lot to the broadcast. The flip side is, like, for anybody that can't hear me in Buffalo, but anybody that listens nationally to my call Thursday night on Westwood One, even without the production meetings, I still think I do a pretty darn good job on the radio. I still think I call a good game. The difference is the play-by-play guy talks more in radio because he has to be more descriptive. And I still will talk to some of the players and coach on the field before the game, which is helpful. So I guess I would say I do think production meetings enhance it, but I still think you can call a heck of a game without it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. A few minutes left with Ross Tucker. So we've talked a lot through last year about Kansas City's amazing luck, not that it's only luck, winning close games. And here we are. Eventually it has to turn, and they're 0-2 with two close losses. What are you seeing there, Ross? Are they in trouble? I mean, they're playing good teams and they're close games.
Yeah, well, a couple things. One is, if we're talking about, like, regression stats, and like we talked about what would eventually happen with the Chiefs losing close games, have you seen that Bills turnover stat?
I know. Yep, 24 games.
Yeah. Guess what's not going to happen forever? Right. We're not going to be talking 5 years from now about how the streak's been going for 78 games. Like, that's not going to happen. That is one of the most amazing statistics that I've ever heard, because, the ball bounces, in unique ways, right? Like, a lot of things can happen. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable, that they have been able to do that 24 straight games. As for the Chiefs, listen, guys, I mean, first of all, they probably still win the game if Mahomes doesn't throw that pass a little early, and then, because of that, obviously, Kelsey dropped it, Makuba intercepts it, almost takes it for a touchdown. That play changed the entire tenor of the game, right? So that's one thing that needs to be said. But, guys, late in that game, Mahomes is throwing the ball, trying to come from behind, down 2 scores, to Tyquan Thornton.
That's it.
And I don't even remember his name. Nicky or Nicole, maybe. Romeo.
That's it.
Like, it is absolutely bananas. I mean, bananas. That those are the guys that he is trying to throw the ball to win a game late.
It is.
It's like they're going to trade for Tyreek Hill. So that'll solve everything. Once Miami decides they're in a tailspin, they'll look for trades. And
I don't know about that. They're going to get Worthy back in a couple weeks. They're going to get Rashee Rice back after his suspension. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know.
Ross, is this one? I know you said you might get in a little. Well, leave a little early. You're leaving Friday morning. I'm sorry to make this, weird. Can people leave beer at your truck? Is really all I wanted to ask.
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is no. So my guy Jan, I think he lives in Warsaw, maybe. My guy Jan and anybody else, Steven, the people that leave stuff at my truck when I do a Bills game, don't look for my truck. Don't leave anything where I normally park because that is not my truck, and I am not going to be there.
Flying in.
I'm actually staying in a hotel Wednesday and Thursday night in Buffalo. I can't tell you guys where, paparazzi, groupies, the whole deal. But I am staying in a hotel there, and I'll get up super early on Friday morning and make my way to Nashville for the Red Hot Colts, by the way, against the Titans.
All right. Well, enjoy your trip up. Thank you, Ross.
Sounds great. Great talking with you guys.
All right.
Hello.
That was Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. We got a whole bunch of people, right? Fitz and that whole crew, right? It's Amazon Prime. So I think Fitz and Andrew Whitworth are doing an event out in Orchard Park on Wednesday night. So
with Eric, yeah.
Oh, Eric's involved in that. I didn't know.
So.
I didn't know for sure. I know I saw Fitz promoting it on Eric's podcast, but I didn't know if Eric was.
I think so.
So
tomorrow,
yeah, that should be fun. I don't know if maybe Ross doesn't know about it. Got to get him out there for that.
Yeah, I didn't do a good job with my economy with words there. I could have maybe asked him what he had tomorrow, because we'll be out there tomorrow.
Well, Thursday. We'll be
Thursday.
Right.
See how badly I'm doing? Thursday we'll be out there. Is it going to be 86 like today?
I think it's going to be pretty hot. I don't know. I think today was the highest high of the week, if I remember correct. High of 79 on Thursday. I've got on my forecast.
It's good enough.
Yeah, it'll work. Yeah, no rain through next Thursday on the at least on the 10-day I'm looking at, which is usually pretty good. I mean, I golf with this thing. Or buy this thing.
The Brady thing is an outrage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gross. Yeah.
Ross made the point too. Appearances are so much of it. There might be a lot of things Sean McDermott or any coach really they could tell you, but they don't need to, so they won't. I don't mean broadcasters in a meeting necessarily. I just mean period. They just always seem to side on that side where they're just going to be more conservative and not run any risk.
I'd rather not get this out there.
Yeah.
If I don't say it, it can't get out there. At least not from us or me. Yeah.
I mean, McDermott has gone as far, and I'm sure he's not alone in this, to decline to talk about a play that happened in a game because how it went down might affect what they do next time. So, he's gotten better, I think, at this. Better for my sensibilities, just more forthcoming, but they just don't have to tell you. And now you've got a broadcaster who's in the coach's box and is communicating with coaches as a part owner of a team. I mean, I don't care who he is. It's not even that Brady is that good, if that matters. Everybody seems to like Greg Olson more of the Fox guys, not everybody. But, I mean, do we really need him in that role? And this was known, not the coaching communication piece so much, but that once he bought in to the Raiders, there was this conflict. And the report last night is that he's leaning into it. And the Raiders denied it. Carroll said that that's not happening. Okay. And who do you believe?
I don't believe him.
I don't believe him.
His coordinator said it's happening, right? Chip Kelly, I think, is where that came from. That I talked to him 2 or 3 times a week or whatever, and Carroll's trying to walk that back because, probably pretty cognizant of the fact that it looks bad and sounds bad, and it is bad. It's a joke. You should not. I don't even think you should be on a Zoom call. Just get out of here. I'm not telling you anything about my operation. I play you in 2 weeks.
Right. That is the case. Bears and Raiders.
It's a joke. And no, he's not. I thought when he was gearing up to launch this part of his second act, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, I thought he'd be like, it would make me really annoy me how good he'd be at it. And he's not. He's fine. He's not the worst ever, but he's not so important in the role that he should be getting paid like so much. I mean, it's just his name and the figure that he is that is the draw, I guess. He's not so good at the job that you got to compromise all this stuff. I mean, I don't know, man. It's not cool at all.
Let's take a break. Maybe reverse AFC power rankings next. We didn't do them at 3. Talked about some other things. We had Ross. We'll have Al Michaels coming up and Sal as well today. So if you want to do that, I've got it all right here. I just hate to have to put it back on the wall.
My standings page is still open from 3 o'clock.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR.
Rodgers out of that opener last year or 2 years ago and not finding a way to win the game.
How do you lose?
Right.
But at least that's not a team with sort of a track record of it. And this is, this is
right.
Jacksonville is waiting for Trevor Lawrence to ascend and for them to become one of the top teams or at least the B level. All right, football season off yesterday. Is this going to be? How bad is this for the Bengals? It's probably bad. The Burrow gets hurt because they can't protect him, and that's not great for Browning.
Right.
He might be talented. I don't know. He's had, like you said, he kind of had moments, but if they can't protect him, then so what? What is there here? What is left here? Kansas City, I don't want to call Kansas City dead, but they don't look good, and they didn't look good last year either. And they still won all those games last year,
right.
But most of them were close, and you know what tends to happen there? And now, what do you know? They have 2 games, and they're both 1-score losses.
Yeah, we'll after tonight, we'll be 2 weeks in. The Chargers and Raiders play tonight. One of them, assuming we don't get a tie, is going to be 2-0, along with the Bengals and the Colts and the Bills. But that is not who you're expecting at the top, So it's early. Baltimore blowing out Cleveland like they did, they looked very good in Week 1. They just fell apart at the end, and the Bills got them. So I still think that looks credible, but I'm not ready to buy Indianapolis at this point.
No.
We'll see as it goes on here. It's possible that the new coach whispers the right things in the quarterback's ear, and Daniel Jones is late career, third stop rejuvenation candidate. It can happen. See Geno Smith, but I'm not ready to get there yet. So, everything 2 weeks in is just falling almost perfectly.
I think Houston is one. They're worth watching tonight. That's a pretty good test tonight with Tampa Bay at home. They have a poor offensive performance in Week 1, 9 points against the Rams, and maybe they'll just be another team that won't be able to figure it out. I don't know. But if they look good, they'll be, Indianapolis is 2-0. But if Houston has a good night, they'll probably be that division's favorite, and maybe people will start talking them up again. This morning, the Colts had passed them for best odds in the AFC South. Well, there it is. 30-10, nothing much to say. Other than there were concerns about the Bills' defense after Week 1, and those, I think, mostly went away. I thought this game, I said this a lot yesterday, not only were they superior athletically, and they got the lead, which makes life easier, but it looked like the Jets had nothing the Bills were not expecting. You have a quarterback like that, maybe you can sort of get them running the wrong way like Jackson does, and you can, get going from that. But every time it seemed the Jets, they ran anything, somebody was right there. It was the secondary. Bishop is the only Bills player on defense by far to play every snap. Nobody else even played 80% of the snaps for them. They used backups
right
by the end of this game. But, it reminded me of Sean McDermott talking about Bishop in the preseason, trying to figure out what they've got. You stay out there.
Right.
And he had a couple of moments. And
he did.
He likes to mix it up, that guy. So you had Trey White, who best sign there is he was healthy enough to go, and you never thought about his being hurt again.
Right, and he made a play that's not a play that he's really known for at all. But physical at the line of scrimmage on a run play, Benford in the backfield on whatever that was, an end around or a reverse, whatever. Like he's right there to sniff it out. And good thing he was. If you look back at the highlight of that, like they've got a convoy going down the right side, and there's only like a couple of Bills defenders over there. I mean, it didn't have to be a big play, but it almost, unless the Jets screwed it up, the guy stumbles or something, or some Bill, one of the couple Bills over there makes a huge play. It's probably a big game, but Benford sniffed it out and was in the right spot. So they got plays from those guys. They got plays from depth. Walker and Sanders did not get exposed in this game. They didn't play a ton, but the rotation was more like normal. It was more, the defensive ends, three of them played the most, but the most I think was like 55%. If I remember what I looked at earlier today, Rousseau and Epinesa and Bosa were all around that kind of number. So that they had to rely on the veterans. Again, the score helps a lot too. You get into this game, into the back end of this game, and you can kind of do whatever you want, which is convenient when you got a game coming 4 days later.
Yes. Well, a little bit of a different football Monday for us. Eric Wood is not available, so we will instead bring you Sean McDermott's Monday press conference whenever that goes, and I think that might be scheduled for 3:30. So if he's on time, we should probably get out of here for now. Then Sal will join us after that. We'll talk about
off day for the Bills and no changes to the team's injury report as they get ready to host the Miami Dolphins on Thursday for Thursday Night Football. Ed Oliver and Matt Milano again do not practice, though it should be noted that Bills head coach Sean McDermott before practice today did say Milano potentially could practice tomorrow. The Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. For more on today, Sal Capaccio does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com, and we'll get more on today as Sal will join the show at 6 p.m. Over in baseball, just 12 games left in the AL East race. Toronto currently holds a 5-game lead over the Yankees. Toronto is down in Tampa tonight just after 7:30, while the Yankees, they're in Minnesota versus the Twins. That game is expected to get going around 7:40. The Mets are also in action. That game will get going, though, just after 7 as they host San Diego. And then here locally, the Bisons are home against Scranton. First pitch just after 6, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Yes, we're back. It is time for reverse AFC power rankings. Not tape delayed. Just postponed 90 minutes is all. We are here, ready to go. Reverse AFC power rankings powered by Empire Electric. Your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit EmpireElectricians.com.
Someone is in their car right now going, postponed? Did something happen? Did I miss something? No, you didn't miss anything. We just fell into a conversation and decided not to do
right.
AFC
we were talking about Baker Mayfield mostly.
Right.
So this had to wait.
Yeah, it wasn't like breaking news. You didn't miss anything really important.
Neither have you missed Al Michaels, who will be on with us at 5 today.
That is important.
All right. Everybody knows how this works? Good. 16.
Miami. I have a question, but it should wait until we go through the entire process.
Okay.
Because I feel like we might be on the verge of something that's pretty rare.
The AFC East? We will see.
I'm going to save it. I'm not going to say any more. But I think Miami still, they looked better, but I just think it's spiraling, and I'm
going to go Browns. Interesting week 1. Defense good against Cincinnati, but blown out eventually in week 2. And Miami was right there, at least in week 2. We'll see what Thursday looks like.
I'll go Cleveland here.
Well, there goes that.
15. There goes the history-making possibility.
The history-making possibility
considering
is over now.
All right. What was it?
Well, I still want to wait till the end.
Okay. 15.
I'm on Miami.
You are.
Yeah, I'm going to stay there. I'm going to stay on Miami.
Fine. 14.
Tennessee.
Okay.
No, you're good with that?
I am.
All right. I just wanted to raise my hand for the Jets.
13. Jets.
Jets. Come on.
Yep.
That is, we'll see how long Fields is out. We'll see how much that even matters if it matters. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they were inept. They were the Jets. They were the regular old Jets, even with Aaron Glenn. God, what a terrible performance.
Jets at Tampa this week. Could be Tyrod Taylor. 12.
How's about Jacksonville here?
I will go with Houston.
I'm going Jacksonville. Jake Browning threw 3 picks. They still lost that game. That has to be punished in some way.
And so it is.
11.
I'll get with Houston here. Okay. Man, their edge guys are those guys are so good. Anderson and Hunter, just excellent, and Stingley's really good. Man, that offense, they just cannot stay ahead of things on offense there. They've got Collins and I don't know.
And what else?
Yeah. I mean, the Bucs tried to give them that game, the block punt and the punt return, and they just could not take it. Now, the defense did get driven on at the end there to give up the winning score, so they're not scot-free here, but, man, they just do not have much going on. Chubb got a nice touchdown run. That was nice for him. That was
He did. He was 1 yard per carry all night until that, pretty much, so I wouldn't be excited about him. Yeah. He's not going to be a fantasy start for me. Even if he does get volume. Woody Marks might be a little interesting as the pass catcher. 10, Pittsburgh.
All right. Sold.
Defense has been bad through 2 weeks.
That's right.
9,
Las Vegas.
I'll say New England. Vegas beat them.
I'm going to go Patriots, too. Yeah. Oh, the Raiders had a bad night last night.
Quarterback did.
Man.
Good spot for him. I mean, the Chargers aren't a pushover, but just like first play was a pick. Yeah, didn't ever take off. 9 points. 8, Vegas.
Okay.
7.
Bengals.
Okay. 6.
It would be incredible if they can keep their heads above water. I think Cincinnati. It really. The kid went 4-3 a couple years ago. Man, it's going to be really tough.
They brought in Mike White, who was here. The Vikings signed Desmond Ridder, who was in Cincinnati, and they play Cincinnati this week.
Crafty.
6.
Indianapolis.
Chiefs.
I was going to say Denver.
Uh-oh.
What are we going to do now?
I think the Colts are so last year's Saints team. It's going to look really cool in September, and by November we're going to be like, what happened there? That happened? That was real? I can't see Daniel Jones continuing to ride this high. I cannot see it.
Who did you say, Mike?
Kansas City.
I don't think I can do that. No, you know what? I'm going to do it. Of those two, I'm after clicks. But let's put the Chiefs in there. Clicks.
What are people going to be clicking on? You're not actually going to say anything or do anything that you can click on.
There's nothing
to click on.
Which is the beauty of saying I'm in it for clicks.
It is. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
5, Denver.
I think I would lean Indy before Denver.
Obviously, you don't watch football. They just played.
Yeah, well.
4.
Yeah, this is a little like last week you were cheeky about me saying Bills over Ravens because they stole it. And, I'm going to tell you
fair.
the Colts stole this game from Denver, but we're in the opposite positions over here.
Well, I don't know if that's true. The last play of the game is that. Did Denver dominate them? I don't even know. Like, the Ravens dominated the Bills.
Yeah.
But then the Bills took it at
Roared
the end.
Back and,
I'm not sure if that happened in the Colts game. Maybe I don't watch enough football.
I have no idea what happened, other than the Broncos being called for that leverage penalty that allowed the kick to be 15 yards closer, and they made it. So.
It was a back-and-forth game. I know that much. Indianapolis, 473 yards. Denver, 324. Seems pretty good. All right, 4. Indy's 5.
Who's left?
Did we miss somebody? Baltimore, Buffalo, Chargers, and Denver.
All right, Denver's got to be next then.
They play this week. Chargers, Denver, in Denver. 3, L.A.
Yes.
Second week in a row. 2, Bills for me.
I'm saying Baltimore.
I'll go the Bills.
Well, it wasn't going to work anyways.
Baltimore won.
Baltimore's won. What I was wondering, and we have no database to actually check this. It probably has. Well, okay, to effectively check it.
Yes.
In a non-time-consuming manner, whether 16-1 have ever played. So I was after Miami at 16 and the Bills. I don't think it's happened for the Bills. How often have they been won? They would have played maybe when they played the Jets one time or something. They
or
were
the
one of
Jags.
the Jets or the Jags, or
the Texans.
I just wondered how often 16 has played one, and I was trying to manipulate the situation to end up with.
I will spend a minute on that. I'm curious to know. I'm not going to know for all the other teams. But for the Bills, it's not going to be that hard.
That's right. Yeah.
Align with their schedules and see. All right, that was pretty quick. Reverse AFC Power Rankings on WGR, powered by Empire Electric, your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit empireelectricians.com. When the Saints thing happened, I fell for it. I thought Derek Carr was credible enough. I didn't really care about Dennis Allen at that point. And they were just blowing out. They blew out Dallas in that week, too. I feel like the Colts have a little bit of a better, like a sturdier thing than that. It isn't crazy to me that this has happened. It's a quality win. The Denver win is pretty impressive, and I just read the stats.
To put up those yards against that Denver defense is really doing something. Yes, that's right.
But the coach had a good reputation, and then with Richardson and Flacco, like they just couldn't do anything, and it really sheds a poor light on Richardson, because I think, it was back and forth in the summer. I think that was sort of the discourse about it, and the Colts might have even gone back and forth on those two guys. But to see Daniel Jones get these starts and look so efficient makes you really wonder, with what all the incentive the Colts had to make Richardson work, it tells you a lot that they gave up on that.
You would think that the coach had led Richardson to the same pail of water to drink from it, and he just couldn't. He couldn't do it. And here's Daniel Jones, kind of mostly a punchline, is what Daniel Jones is. So it's not unlike these other guys that Geno Smith, Darnold, that looked pretty good. Darnold against Pittsburgh this week.
Yep.
Wasn't much in week one, but so we'll see, man. Daniel Jones, go figure.
Well, you can't bet the MVP in New York State, as you well know, but it's too late to bet Daniel Jones. You missed out on the triple digits slide you might have found a month or so ago. Right now, it's Allen and Jackson, as usual, at the top of that award. Then it's Justin Herbert and Jordan Love right now. I think at MGM. The guys were talking about that this morning. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Al Michaels coming up at 5. This is WGR. Al Michaels coming up. He'll be on his way to Buffalo tomorrow for the game Thursday night, Amazon Prime, and it'll be on local TV also, so you're not going to have to miss it if you don't have Amazon. Don't tell Al I said that. He probably knows, but wouldn't want to sound to him like I'm turning people away from Prime. I'm a subscriber.
Me too.
Leaders are funny early in NFL seasons. Who leads the NFL in passing yards?
Man. It's not Daniel Jones.
He's second.
Okay. Herbert's got to be a decent guess.
He is a good guess. Third.
Not that good, though. It's an NFC player.
It is. You can just hear
Stafford?
Bulldog, running through the teams right. By the standings. Sixth. Allen is seventh, tied with Geno.
Is it Jordan Love?
It is Russell Wilson.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, he had threw for almost 500 yards on Sunday, didn't he? Like 470
450 or more, maybe.
Big number.
Yep. Daniel Jones is second. Jonathan Taylor is the NFL rushing leader so far. It's been a big part of their success. James Cook is fourth. Big game on Sunday. Also, his 3 touchdowns, all on the ground, are tied for the league lead. He had that distinction last year as well. Derrick Henry third, despite rushing for almost no yards against Cleveland. That was weird that didn't go better for him, but the Ravens still cruised.
Nice for them to win like that and not need him at all.
I know, right?
It's not exactly the quarterback point, but whatever. Wear and tear. He's not a young guy.
At the beginning we were talking about Mayfield and the Bills and how the Bills were able to break out of, if you will, Cleveland's perennial affliction, the Browns just being always spinning their wheels, coach and quarterback, and like they had a couple of playoff teams, but have not been able to stabilize. And here are the Bills, kind of the picture of stability. I don't think you can overstate the importance of like the fit. What is the coach's status? Has he already won there? Is he, coming in at the same time you are? All the different ways it can land. And this is why I liked Mac Jones last week and was talking to friends who had the decision to make at quarterback, losing Purdy, and we picked Mac Jones over Geno Smith, who had he had a huge week one, actually, and he might have seemed like the chalk. But I just felt like they played the Saints, but that Mac Jones could go into that position and do well. And it sounded like he did very well. The numbers are great for him. Now, they'll play tougher teams. I think they have Arizona this week. Is Arizona a tougher team? How much tougher? I don't know. Maybe they're all tougher than the Saints. But the 49ers landed on their feet with Mac Jones, who they're telling you now in New England, like Belichick wouldn't even look at him.
Right, wouldn't even talk to him the second year. Yeah, you can't help me. I'm stuck with you. That sounds like great coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, way to dig in.
Exactly. This game's 4-4.
Yeah, I just saw another goal. Yeah, I didn't even know
my Dortmund.
I didn't know it had gotten to 4-3. I had 4-2 after there was a penalty kick for Dortmund that I thought gave them a 4-2 lead. I missed the 4-3 goal.
It was 2 minutes ago.
Okay, so I saw what ends up being the tying goal. I thought it's 4-3. This is getting interesting. Like, nope, it's tied.
It was the third minute of injury time that Juventus made it 4-3, and now it's 4-4, but they're reviewing this 4-4 goal. Oh. I had a thought, and I went into the Mac Jones thing instead. Just as the music's playing, the score is 4-2. Dortmund kicks the ball back to its keeper, who just sort of blasts one long but out of bounds. And I had the thought, if you or I were the Dortmund goalkeeper, up by 2 with 4 minutes left, would we win? And 2 minutes later, they've already given up 2 goals, right. And it's not us in there.
Right. It's an actual professional.
It's a real guy.
Highly paid goalkeeper, right?
Unless somehow back in my mind, I knew that they were going to sub the goalkeeper out for a fan in the Champions League, and that is what happened there. I don't know. But that's what a
collapse
game. Just 3 minutes into injury time, you're up by 2. How do you not win? It's not even over. So there's your Dortmund-Juventus update that you were waiting for. Al Michaels coming up after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
No off day for the Buffalo Bills and no changes to the team's official injury report. At Oliver, Matt Milano, again, do not practice. But on Milano, head coach Sean McDermott, before practice, did say that there was a possibility that he could practice tomorrow. And the Barnes from Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes from Injured. For help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. We'll get more on today when Sal Capaccio does join the show at 6 p.m. And Sal also has a piece up at our website, WGR550.com, for more on practice. The Sabres have released their 2025 camp roster. On-ice practice is going to start tomorrow, and then the season comes around quick. Preseason games will get underway next week. And then in baseball, 12 games left in the AL East race. Toronto currently has a 5-game lead on the Yankees. Toronto is down in Tampa tonight just after 7:30. The Yankees are in Minnesota versus the Twins. That game just after 7:40. And the Mets, they're also in action. That game, though, will get underway just after 7 as they host San Diego. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Week 3, the Bills and Dolphins open it up Thursday night at Highmark Stadium, Amazon Prime. And with us now, it's always a great honor and pleasure to welcome Al Michaels, who will have the play-by-play Thursday night. With us now, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here on the West Her Hotline. Al, it's great to talk to you again. How's life?
Life is great, Mike, and looking forward to coming on in. And looks like the weather on Thursday night is going to be perfect. I can tell the long-term forecast anyway. So
well, yeah, we are in a stretch here, Al.
Yes. I was wondering how likely it would be that you would check on the weather. I guess you have to pack. You know, it's a quick trip, but you know, you might want to always know. Do you do that on a regular basis? Like, is it going to be nice where I'm going?
Well, it's September, so you can kind of count on it being pretty good. I mean, we had Green Bay last week. I said on the air, I don't think I've ever said a perfect night for football in Green Bay, because I've done a lot of November, December, and January games there under the lights. But that's as good as it gets. 66 degrees. Looks like it might be a little warmer in Buffalo come Thursday, but I'm taking it, man. I'm taking it.
Get your bad weather cities out of the way early on the Amazon Prime schedule, Green Bay and now Buffalo. Al, do you still love it? You broadcast your first game in 1973. It's so cool to hear you every week. Do you still love it?
I do. Actually, I go back to my first game was in 1971, believe it or not. So I'm doing the Cincinnati Reds as my primary job. And NBC in those years had coverage of the World Series and the baseball playoffs exclusively. So what would happen is, for a couple of weekends during October, Kurt Gowdy would go over to do baseball, and then Jim Simpson, who was the number 2 guy, he would go over to do like the other championship series. So that meant they took somebody, I think it was Jay Randolph, from the number 3 game to the 1 game. So they brought me in to do the last game, the very last game, on the docket that week, which happened to be, ready for this, 1971. You can look it up, October, I think, 3rd, Buffalo at Minnesota. Now, in those years, there was a blackout for the home market. So we weren't on in Minneapolis. And for the road market, Buffalo, the NBC station opted to do the baseball coverage. Well, I can't remember who was playing. I think Pittsburgh was playing in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I got to do Buffalo at Minnesota. It was Bud Grant against, I think, Joe Collier, if I remember correctly. And in that game, in my very first game, I had O.J. Simpson and Al Cowlings in the game.
Yes.
Go figure.
But who was watching?
Yeah, if Buffalo didn't have it, what other market was
or
this?
Minnesota?
Yeah, right.
No, but they put it on a UHF station in Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
So if you wanted to, if you were in Buffalo and wanted to watch the game, you had to go to your rabbit ears and tinfoil and connect it and put it in a position where you could get a signal in those years, and that's how they got the game. And my partner was Johnny Morris, who to this day still holds a number of receiving records for the Chicago Bears. That's how bad the Bears have been offensively and through the years, that Johnny Morris is still dotting the record.
I think he might be their all-time leading receiver. I think he might actually be their all-time leader in receiving yards.
He could.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, so this was during the playoffs. Then in the World Series, they did the same thing. Gowdy's doing the series. They made Simpson the radio announcer on the NBC networks. So I do it again, and what's my game? Buffalo at the Jets at Shea Stadium. Blacked out in New York. Same thing in Buffalo. I was the king of UHF in Buffalo in those years.
Wow. It's not often you get people wishing they were just a couple of years older, because my point of entry for the Bills is 73. If not from me being 60, and if I were 62 years old, I might remember these games and trying to find the game on the UHF channel, Al.
Yeah.
Well, it's much easier to remember stuff from a million years ago than it is last week, I got to tell you at this point.
I agree. Well, at the risk of trying too hard here, this game you mentioned in Minnesota, the Vikings were 15-point favorites and won 19-0. You might have needed all your material for that one. And at the here we go, Al. This Bills team is rolling, and Miami is not. And we're talking about another game where the spread is a couple of touchdowns. Can Miami make it interesting? Are you going to need to tell stories on Thursday night? What are we looking at?
Well, it's the National Football League, guys, so anything can happen. I mean, you can't predict what's going to happen. Obviously, Buffalo is the better team. Buffalo should win. Buffalo's a big favorite. But I've been around long enough. One of the reasons, look, we love football, we love sports, because you don't know what's going to happen. And the unexpected happens with some frequency. So I'm saying right now, you look at the game and you go, well, there's no chance. But there is a chance. I mean, there's always a chance. Crazy stuff happens. Look, Miami had their heads handed to them against Indianapolis. They were horrible. Played better last week, though they did self-destruct once again toward the end of the game with false starts and penalties and a bad operation offensively. But I just don't say in any event, in any game, even if the spread is whatever the hell it's going to be. And I think you guys said it's a 2-touchdown thing coming up on Thursday night. We love sports because we just don't know what's going to happen.
Right. See week 1 here at the stadium you'll be calling this game from, Al, with the Bills trailing by 15 as late as they were, and Josh Allen throws for 251 yards in the fourth quarter, and, is there no end to his superhero status? I mean, that's about as remarkable and, you didn't see it coming as it gets.
No, not at all. I mean, the game is over, and I guess some of the fans are leaving. It's late, so... some are probably trying to get back into the building at the end. But that's why, again, I go back to why we love it, because we don't know what's going to happen.
We have 2 buildings now. I'm not sure if you'll, get a tour or anything like that, if it interests you, but there is a fancy, sparkling new stadium right across the street. I will say, and I think Bulldog would concur, we're both lifelong residents of the area, it's surreal. Like driving down the 219 to go to games, and I went to my first game in '79. You'd first sort of see the stadium only by seeing the lights way off past the trees. You couldn't ever really see the stadium, which is down into the ground. Now you take that same little jerk of the head to the right, and there is the new Highmark Stadium right past those lights. It's just kind of incredible to think that that's happening here.
Well, it's amazing. I don't know that I'll get a chance to tour it, but on Hard Knocks, I know that there was a tour with that Josh was on, and Terry Pagula and a few other people, and it looks great. The new stadiums now, they have the benefit of not making the mistakes that were made along the way. They've figured it out for the most part. How to build unbelievable stadiums. SoFi in Los Angeles, my hometown, is unbelievable. Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas is terrific. They're building a new one in Nashville. So everybody has learned from what's taken place in the past and have been able to study, any of the imperfections or problems that they've had. So I expect the stadium in Buffalo to be, state of the art.
Do you find this generation of stadium builds to be distinctive. We went through like mid-90s or so in hockey and basketball, but hockey as it pertains to Buffalo here, like a generation of buildings being built, and we lost a lot with the old buildings, the Aud here, the Boston Garden, Chicago Stadium. You know, if you watch enough of a certain sport like hockey, you could tell where a game is being played without even seeing the logo on the ice, and now that's really hard. Do you find the football stadiums manage to avoid that?
Well, they have to a degree. So there are things that, when it comes to nostalgia, we want to remember as kids or where we were at certain points. And, I grew up in Brooklyn, Ebbets Field. Does anything resemble Ebbets Field right now? No. But that's my childhood. But so whatever you're missing in one regard, I think you're gaining in the other, because these stadiums are now, they're tremendous. And maybe they're too cool in a way. And a lot of them have to do with luxury suites and loge seats and, PSLs and all of that, and great food. And, the weird thing these days is that a lot of people who buy these boxes, they're at the game, but they're not watching the game. You look into some of these luxury boxes, and there's like 6 people in the back by the refrigerator in the bar, watching the game on television. But I guess, people, they want to be there. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you're going to see too much of that in Buffalo. We see a whole bunch of that in Los Angeles. There's no question about it. Because a lot of people go, it's the place to be. But the place to be is sometimes where you don't want to be, but so you make the most of it by chatting it up with your friends. I mean, to me, it's sort of a lot like what Super Bowl parties must be like when you get 50 or 60 people watching. You probably have like 20 people watching the game, and 20 kind of looking at it a little bit, and then 20 more sitting out in the backyard, and drinking beer. So that's where we are these days, guys.
Right.
A little different from your earlier days in broadcasting when, you probably have so many stories, whether this goes back to Hawaii or just even in the early 70s in the majors, just in situations where, you might have had to sit in the crowd with a mic and sort of like figure out how to do the equipment to be able to get on the air. It was probably like that in the early days.
Well, in Hawaii, the key thing was termites had eaten most of the stadium, so we just wanted to make sure it would stand up through the course of the season, which it did. And then when I went to Cincinnati to do the Reds in 1971, that was at a time when they were building very similar stadiums in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Atlanta, and what they were soup tureens, because they were round and they were made for both football and baseball. So it wasn't perfect for either sport. You had a round stadium for football and baseball. You had to make sure that a football configuration could be put in there as well. So it's funny, as I say, between Veterans Stadium, Riverfront, Three Rivers, Busch in St. Louis, and Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, they were all kind of state-of-the-art at that point, and they all lasted about 20 years. Because that's maybe 30 years, I guess, because between 1970 and, let's say, 2000. Then they started to build, the stadiums that I love. The one in Cleveland is great. Baltimore may have been the forerunner, with the warehouse behind the right field fence. San Diego looks fantastic. And I love when you're able to sit at a baseball game and look at the skyline. There's nothing like that for me.
Al, before you go, one of your previous visits with us, we talked about Ken Dryden. And, of course, you and he together at Lake Placid in 1980 is unforgettable. We lost Dryden a couple of weeks ago, I guess. I don't know if you were still close to him, but he was really a great, not just, as a player, but in what he did for hockey and around hockey after his playing days.
I'll tell you, Mike, that was like a dagger. I felt like I got hit by a sledgehammer that day. When I read that, I didn't know Kenny was sick. Yeah, Kenny and I stayed in touch for all of these years. We talk maybe 3 times a year. We might see each other once every 3 or 4 years at a certain event. I loved him. He was so special, and of course I share the ultimate moment of my career, the pinnacle of my career in terms of a game to broadcast. I'll always share that with Ken. Ken was a private man. I didn't know he was sick. And I don't know anybody who I know who knew Ken who knew he was sick until the end. But they, you talk about a Renaissance man, and we like to use that term loosely. And sometimes, if a guy read 3 books in his life, we call him a Renaissance man. Kenny was the real Renaissance man. Don't forget, this is a man who had a fantastic career, 6 Stanley Cups, 5 Vezina trophies, retired at the apex of his career because he had so much more in life that he wanted to do. And the first thing, he got into broadcasting. We wind up doing the Olympics. Kenny passed the bar exam in the middle of the Olympics between the Romania game on a Wednesday night and the Soviet game on Friday, got driven to Ottawa, passed the bar exam.
Wow.
And then he went on to, then after Lake Placid, he moved the family. He wanted the family to experience living in a different country. They moved to London. He was studying at Cambridge at that particular point. He would eventually go on to become a parliamentarian. He ran for and won a seat in Parliament. People thought, and I thought so too, without question, Kenny could have been the Prime Minister of Canada. Obviously, you got the English-speaking most of Canada, but the French-speaking Quebec. But he was loved. He was loved on both sides of it as a Montreal Canadian, superstar, and as just a man who clearly would have been, I think, one of the great politicians in history. But Kenny became disenfranchised with politics, so he backed out of that. Became the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He wrote 6 or 7 books, including a book called The Game, about first person, the goalie, as the Montreal Canadiens, and what it's like to stand there on the ice. The knob on the stick, of course, is that one shot we'll never forget. Yeah. So I got to tell you, of all the partners I've had, and I've had some fabulous ones, obviously, through the years, Kenny was distinct. Kenny was different. I loved Kenny, and I could only liken him to one other guy who I work with, and that would be Arthur Ashe, who died too young, obviously. But I did some tennis on ABC back in the 80s with Arthur. They were 2 guys who were just separate. They were different. They were unique. And obviously I've missed Arthur for a long time. And Kenny right now, it still chokes me up a little bit when I think that he passed last week.
I feel like it's a wonderful comparison, those two, it would seem. Mm-hmm. Who wins the Conn Smythe Trophy before they win the Calder? Dryden pulled that off.
Right.
I know people forget about that, sure.
Thanks very much for your time today, as always, and enjoy your trip up. Have a safe trip.
Okay, guys. See you on Thursday. Take care, man.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Al Michaels on the Wester Hotline. So, we got to... Who are the people that write on Wikipedia? We got to get this fixed.
Oh, right.
He doesn't say anything about his doing NFL games in 71. I mean, this guy, he's got the date right, the game. He's got 50,
right.
Before I was born, this game. But it says his first, it doesn't exactly say his first game. It's the first reference is calling the NFL was a game in 1973 when the scheduled NBC announcer died of a heart attack. And Al Michaels was brought in to replace him for this game between the Oilers and the Bengals.
Maybe they don't remember these games from 71 because they were on UHF only in Buffalo.
Yeah, maybe.
And not on in the markets where the games were being played.
It's always so cool when he's on. And it's been, I think, 4 times now. And we get 15, 20 minutes, and we mostly talk about the Bills, but you saw how it went. But his career is so much cooler than just the NFL. And the NFL, that's 50-plus years, of course. But he's got it all. He's talking about tennis, Miracle on Ice, tons of baseball,
right.
Some NBA, some NHL. There's more. The beginning of his career, he worked on The Dating Game, choosing women to appear on the show, on The Dating Game. Do we know what The Dating Game is out there, people?
Right.
That was a regular game show watch for me.
Those kind of shows are back now, so I think we know what The Dating Game is now, right?
He was on Hawaii Five-0 as an actor in 1970. And Christopher Walken, it says at Wikipedia, is in the episode. But there's another guy who's had a run.
Yes.
Christopher Walken.
Got his number in your phone? Wow. Yeah. I feel like the Hawaii Five-0 thing, I'm not blown away by because I think it came up maybe a time or two before. I think it shocked me when I first heard it. But I feel like that was a couple of years ago now. But still, yeah.
And he is 80 now.
Yeah. What a career, and just a beautiful job. I'm glad we had time for you to bring up Ken Dryden. To hear him talk about that was really special.
So, like you mentioned, the whole Prime experience coming up here in the next 48 hours or more. The game is a little more than 48 hours away. Didn't get to ask him about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I thought maybe I would. Just being on the same broadcast. I don't know if that means they spend time together.
Right, I wonder
but,
right. Yeah.
You know, Fitzpatrick was popular here. I mean, he's popular everywhere, you know? I think if you played against his teams, you still liked him.
Yeah.
But kind of a cult hero. And now we've got Allen, who is that in a way, but obviously has transcended that. He's just an amazing player, too. So I'm going to make that point.
Yeah, we love Fitz because it comes across that Fitz loves us. And, like, we love to love someone who loves us. Most people do. I don't think the Buffalo's got the market cornered on that. But, you know, if you've got someone who rolled through here and played for, what did Fitz play for, 7 teams? Whatever he really played for in his career.
At least.
To have him sort of hold up to come here to the Patriot perfect game with no shirt on when it's 3 degrees or whatever the heck it was. The guy loves it and loved it and loves us, and so we're very agreeable to reciprocating that. So that'll be Wednesday night will be a lot of fun. Wayland, they have ads on the station. I don't think for this event, but he and Andrew Whitworth are doing like a live show podcast type thing from 8 to 9:30 or so. I think is the timeline there. So
he's likable too.
Whitworth, I agree. I really like that show, except I don't. Tony Gonzalez kind of makes me crazy, but the rest of it I think is really good.
Rams, Bengals, Bills, Titans, Texans, Jets, Buccaneers, Dolphins, Washington is Fitzpatrick. Another guy, Al Michaels, Christopher Walken, Ryan Fitzpatrick, guys who've just been around a long time,
right.
have done a lot of things.
Right.
We started today, I mentioned a tweet from my friend Davis Maddock about Baker Mayfield and references last night to his coming back from what happened to him earlier in his career, which Davis dubbed, quote, being a Cleveland Brown. What a recovery. What a way to salvage your career in that it started as being a Cleveland Brown for Baker Mayfield. And, here I am in Davis, but I'm Bills and can talk so like arrogantly about, well, the Browns. I mean, you're a joke. Look at us. But of course, when that started, Mayfield, that's the 18 draft. Allen is in that draft. Like the Bills were kind of the Cleveland Browns. They were just a team that could not find its stride at quarterback or even at coach. And that, of course, has changed here and not yet so much in Cleveland. And that's really, whenever you do it, is interesting to reflect on. While Buffalo is basking in this era with Allen, like how did they do it? When they drafted Allen, I wasn't excited about him, but when they drafted Sammy Watkins or Josh Allen or E.J. Manuel, I would often feel bad for the player because it's so important where you land, who you get, the fit, the surrounding talent, the support, how solid is your organization, these things. The Bills weren't really high marks in any of those areas, but they have made it work. And so we don't live in the Browns neighborhood anymore. No. It can always change back.
We are in a high-rise with a park view is where we are with Allen. And they're still just muddling along. Mayfield is. My wife sat down to watch some of the game with me yesterday. So, I got home and it was on. So like, all right, football right away. And she likes to sit there if I'm watching a game and just do whatever she's going to do, read or whatever. And so, but she asked, like, what am I looking at here? Who's playing? Tell me. And I said, well, this Mayfield. I like this Mayfield. He was the first pick in the draft that Allen was drafted by the Bills in. And I said mistakenly, and he's on his 3rd team now. But I really like him. He's really good. And then later on in the broadcast, they mentioned how he went from Cleveland to Carolina, and I'd forgotten about Carolina. It's like now I have a footnote to remember. Like you just rattled off the fit stuff, looking it up, all his teams. Like Mayfield is on team 4. You got to remember Carolina. Because it was the same year, right? He went from there to the Rams, got there like 2 days before, and then pulled out a game on a Thursday night or whatever it was, and then eventually got to Tampa. But the Carolina piece is kind of easy to forget.
So is the Rams one, even. Like it was very short.
The Rams one stands out because of
that one night.
That one night he had. Whereas Carolina, I don't think he did much of anything.
Yeah.
So that was easier for me to forget than
Well, it's also easy to sort of just give Josh Allen all the credit for this point, how the Bills are not the Browns. But it's not just Allen, right? I mean, this is where McDermott, Bean, even Pagula deserve to share in some of the credit, of course. 803-0550 to join us. We want to talk about that. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Back after the update. This is WGR.
Day for the Buffalo Bills, and no changes to the team's injury report. Ed Oliver, Matt Milano still not practicing, but potentially some good news for Milano. McDermott did speak with the media before practice today and said Milano potentially could practice tomorrow. And the Barnes from Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes from Injured for Help. Call 1-800-8-MILLION. Stay tuned. Coming up at 6 o'clock, Sal Capaccio will join the show to give us more on what he saw today at practice, and also Sal does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. The Vikings are putting running back Aaron Jones on IR. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to be out at least 4 weeks. This comes after the news yesterday that Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy is going to be out 2 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. And with the Jones news, Cam Akers is expected to sign with Minnesota. The Sabres have released the 2025 camp roster. On-ice practices will begin tomorrow, and then the season comes around fast. Preseason games will get underway next week. And then in baseball, 12 games left in the AL East race. Toronto currently has a 5-game lead on the Yankees. Toronto is down in Tampa just after 7:30, while the Yankees are in Minnesota versus the Twins. That game is expected to get going at 7:40. And then locally, the Bisons are home against Scranton. First pitch for that game just after 6 o'clock, and that can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Their offense is struggling. There's moments when it looked good week 2 against New England, and there's moments when it really struggled. And so it's an offense right now in Miami, I would say, is moments when Tua looks risk averse. And then there's moments where Tua in the pass game looks like Tua in the pass game has for years. Ball's out on time, in rhythm, placed perfectly. And then there's moments when, Tua makes some uncharacteristic, forced and poor decisions. And so I think that they're just trying to figure out what they can rely on and who they can rely on right now.
Dan Orlovsky, the Dolphins in town Thursday night, week 3 against the Bills. Latest FanDuel line, you're welcome, Bulldog, 11.5. Bulldog likes FanDuel, if that didn't make sense.
Sure. Yep.
11.5. It's a tough one. It didn't turn out this way. I had no trouble last week constructing a game script where the Bills might have been in trouble. I'm not doing well at that this week.
Yeah.
It's Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Achane, usual characters for the Dolphins on offense. They have to have time, and that's not a sure thing anymore with this. Well, it never is in this matchup, but trending the wrong way for Miami and the right way for the Bills. Secondary coming off a strong game Sunday. Some stability there, it would seem, as opposed to before. And defensively, when have they ever stopped Allen? And now they don't have a secondary?
Right. They should not be able to stop Allen. I could have an easier time seeing Miami get some things right on offense in this game, just because, yes, the Bills did have a good day all around on defense, but Achane is a very different thing, and the speed that is, he represents, and Waddle and Hill is a very different challenge than the Jets. Although Hall has got a very high-end speed factor too. I just think there's more there, and I as last week wore on, I started the week like anyone, this defense, the safeties, the linebackers had a tough. As the week went on, it's the Jets. It's just I'm ready to believe Justin Fields is good because he had a good game against the Steelers. I saw my way to, I think the Bills will handle this. I'm a little short week. I don't know about desperation. You might get whatever Miami's best punch they have left is. You might get it on Thursday.
You should.
Yeah. And so if that amounts to anything,
that's the question.
That is still a dangerous set of players, skill players on offense. Whether they can block or not and cover the Bills, is another question. But I could see them getting to the high 20s or 30 against the Bills. They've got the speed to do it. Achane is feasted on the Bills.
That's right. Let's go to Kevin here. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, guys, how you doing? First, you guys enticed me to do a bet. I just put Waddle and Hill down for both 100-yard in this game in desperation. So
okay, well, I don't think I want my name on that, but okay, I said it. Yep. It was on the air, so yep. All right.
Okay. I just loved your conversation with Al Michaels too. It was heartwarming to listen to him, and I remember putting that damn antenna on the back of the TV to get channel 29, if my memory serves me correct, in Buffalo on UHF to watch those games. And one of my favorite memories is Ken Dryden. If you guys obviously dated yourself, and I'm a little older, I remember our coach Joe Crozier having Ken Dryden's pads measured in a playoff game, and we ended up winning that game. And it was Rick Jeterette. The Sabres have won. That was a good memory.
Yeah, yes. That was 1973, their first ever playoff series, and I think that game that they won got them the chance to come back home, and that was where the famous "Thank You Sabres" chant started. Like, I don't know if it had happened before that in the building, but it certainly happened that night when they ended up getting eliminated. But the fans were just so happy to have another game, and the team was still so new. But yes, I do remember that too. That's 73. Like, that's I said it to Al Michaels a few minutes ago. That's OJ. That's the formative years, and I can remember that pad measurement in that series against Montreal
in the Forum.
Yep.
Antennas. It's just so different.
Yeah,
it's just so different. What I would do in like the 80s, I don't have the 70s for this, but in the 80s, because you'd get the Bills game if they weren't blacked out, or you'd get 2 or 3 others. There wouldn't be a Sunday night game. Once in a while, but there was not usually a Sunday night game. Or, of course, Thursday night. Again, once in a while, but not every week. And then there was a weekly Monday night, right? So you couldn't always watch all of it. Monday night games were 9 o'clock. I was in middle school. I wasn't watching any more than the first half, but I'd want to. So 2 or 3 games a week. And then what you would need to do is Saturday or Sunday, this is like before cable, Saturday or Sunday, find the This Week in Football show, or like a show like that, This Week in the NFL maybe it was called, and you'd get 2 or 3 minutes on every game of highlights. That's how you could see the Bills at home, or you could watch it on like local news, sports reports, but that's how you'd have to find highlights of a Bills home game and all the other games too. And that was like, I wouldn't want to miss that.
Right. Because
that's the only look at the rest of the league that was possible, let alone, just available. But that was the only way possible to see.
The local news, and I remember, this might be erroneous. I remember hoping for the highlights on the 11 o'clock news. I don't even know if you always got it. Whether they could turn it around in time, even back then. Maybe I'm thinking of the 6 o'clock news for a 1 o'clock game. That might make more sense because no night game. But the other venue to see highlights, it wasn't extensive. It might be one play from a game. But I remember fighting to stay up for halftime of Monday Night Football. You mentioned it started at 9 o'clock, so halftime is 10:30, 10:45, and Cosell would do the like 3 minutes of highlights.
But it wouldn't be every game.
No, not every game. So you'd sit there hoping, am I going to get a Bills highlight? Am I going to get a Bills highlight? And, often you wouldn't. The Bills weren't that good. But, anytime they made the cut, they'd be like, I was on Monday Night Football. Not really. The highlight was on Monday Night Football from yesterday's game. I can even remember sneaking, like the way the house I grew up in was designed. My parents had the TV in such a spot in the living room that the longish hallway with my sister's bedrooms, my parents' bedroom, and the bathroom at the end of the hall, my bedroom was the last one on the right of the hall. And I could sneak out of my room, just open the door, and kind of crane my neck around the corner and see the TV from there. And I would do that. I for the game, but especially for the highlights. If I lost the battle that night and my dad or my mom said, no, you got to go to bed, early day, et cetera, I'd be awake still, hoping, I want to see the highlights. I want to see if the Bills are on the highlights. I got to open my door really quietly and just peek my head out. Like, okay. I would even sometimes try to creep down the hall to get a closer look, but that was really dangerous. Because I get too far down the hall, I'm not going to be able to get back. If he moves, he gets up, like I'm cooked. I'm not going to make it back. I'm going to be clamoring. They're going to hear my door. I'm not just. It was always risky. Like the line of demarcation for me was my sister's door.
Mm-hmm.
If I got to there, like, okay, this is going to settle for this. There's a good enough view. I'll watch from here. Any farther, I'm getting close to the kitchen. If anybody gets up, God forbid my mother was in the basement for some reason. She comes up through the kitchen. I'm standing there. Anyway, the things we used to have to do. Now you just watch the game on your phone in your bed if you want.
Always a delicate balance with the radio in the bedroom. Just only as loud as you could afford for it to be so you could hear it. Any louder, then you were risking a lot.
Right.
You had to be able to hear it, but any louder, if anybody else could hear it, that was trouble. By the way, I still have that problem. Not that it's trouble, but I wake my wife up because I like to listen to a podcast or something to fall asleep to. So getting that volume
just right.
It's key. I don't think we have the map yet for who's on this week. I'm looking at the 506 Sports.
I can tell.
You already know?
The Fubo app told me. I tweeted about this very early this morning. I was up early to play golf, and I started thinking, well, Sunday. Wow, we have Sunday off.
So it's going to be too early and one late.
I'm going to book a tee time for Sunday, and the next step after booking a tee time for Sunday morning was, what's the football schedule like? It's not, the whole day is pretty rank, I would say. Why would
that be with everybody playing? Again. So I'm going to guess early CBS would be Pittsburgh, New England.
Yes.
Over Nance and Romo, and that's Cincinnati, Minnesota. So Pittsburgh, New England.
Yep.
And then Fox will have Rams, Eagles.
Nope.
Jets, Bucks.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. 425 is the big problem. Like Pittsburgh,
Dallas, Chicago.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, New England. Yeah, it's not 2008, but still, like that. Rodgers, the Patriots, Drake May. Okay,
okay.
I can get there. But Cowboys again, they were in that spot on Sunday, right, against the Giants.
Well, that was early.
Oh no, that was early game, right? Anyway, the primetime week 1, the Bears again. Just the 425 game is what kills it.
Okay.
For
I
me.
like it more than you do.
And then the night game is Chiefs and Giants.
Right.
Is this
That's bad too? You're tough. You're tough.
It's just not. There's nothing I'm that excited to see there.
No, but the Chiefs are a good story. They're always a super popular team to watch.
Yeah.
Right now they're a good story. Like the Giants, how would you feel if you're Kansas City? Thank God it's the Giants. I don't think so. I'd be nervous. The Giants showed some life last week, and I don't know, the Chiefs, what are they doing on offense so far? There's just nothing really happening there. So that's the kind of game that would make me nervous. But that's what those games are like when your team is good or has been good, and then you play a team like that.
Yeah. I don't dispute any of that. It's just not. It's not a game I would expect to be good. If it's a good watch, it's just going to be because Kansas City can't do anything, and we like that. That'll make me happy. I don't expect it to be a good game.
Okay. I was not excited for Atlanta, Minnesota. I know that. I thought
Well, you turned out to be pretty right about that.
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing was happening there.
Dallas at Chicago is going to be like the national 425 game, and Brady will be there in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
Because he won't be in the Raiders booth.
Right.
I guess he hasn't been able to figure that out yet. All right. Sales coming up at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here at 803-0550. This is WGR. Sal coming up at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Thanks for listening. If you missed Al Michaels earlier or Ross Tucker, you can either check them out on the Odyssey app or WGR550.com for anything you might have missed. See the tweet last night from somebody watching the Cubs game about how they were talking in the booth about the Phil Rizzuto thing we talked about yesterday?
I did not catch that last night.
Apparently, on the Cubs broadcast, they were talking about how Rizzuto would write WW in his scorebook.
Wasn't watching.
And you and I talked about that yesterday. Like, how random.
WL.
I wrote down WL because I wasn't listening at one point. That's an E on me. E me. WL. So is there something we could sort of slip in here to see if the Cubs people are listening to us that it would be impossible for them to... Something about, antennas and watching the Sabres, like the pad measurement. If they mentioned the Ken Dryden pad measurement on the Cubs broadcast tonight, we got a story.
Yeah.
Because that shouldn't ever come up on that show, during that game. Don't you think? Just too weird.
That would be really weird. Yeah, odd timing. To have that come up. Yeah, any reference to Al Michaels on a local radio show, I think, would be a giveaway, too. But, whatever.
On the Cubs?
Right. If they
Cubs Pirates?
I can't remember where, but I heard Al Michaels talking to some radio guys.
Yeah.
Hey! That was us.
About checking the weather or about Dryden or one of the topics we covered.
Right.
Tampa Bay, we're talking about week 3. The Bills play Thursday night, so... You might be free to watch the rest of the league on Sunday. Jets, Bucks, you think that'll be on Fox?
That's what my Fubo app tells me. That's where I got this information.
I like watching Tampa this year, recently with Mayfield. I mentioned this earlier. Like, Mayfield is fun.
Yep.
And he'll make mistakes, too. He's one of those guys. Like, we like Winston for this. He's better than that. Or Flacco, somebody that will sort of, you're on the edge of your seat. Allen gives you that in almost entirely a good way. You see things from him that you don't even think are possible. Throws and runs and just like, he's amazing to watch. So is Jackson for this. I think Mahomes is too when his offense is like sort of up to his speed. And it doesn't look like, even last year, it didn't look like that was really the case. And so far this year, but you see plays that you just can't believe are real sometimes from those guys. Mayfield is more, he's so scrappy. You mentioned something about how a guy was trying to taunt him last night and he gave it back.
Yeah.
There was another one where Will Anderson ran him down early in the game, and Anderson sort of posed like it was a sack.
Yeah, he got up and
Mayfield pointed to the scoreboard. First down.
He got a first down on it. Yeah, so it wasn't a sack. He gained the yardage he needed. The guy caught him and was like flexing, and he just got up and pointed. Yeah, that's right. Like, I got the first down, bro.
I mean, he gives you, he puts life into the game like that.
That's right. It was more a commentary on the Jets.
Okay.
And I mean, Tampa playing the Jets. I mean, they've never played before, so maybe that'll keep it fresh.
First ever meeting.
Yeah.
You might get Tyrod on Sunday.
You're right. I do like watching Mayfield play. He's maybe still. I should really check this because like Favre's an all-time great. And Mayfield has got some work to do to reach that level. But there is a certain sort of, he's not the biggest guy. He runs around. Favre ran around, but he wasn't a great runner. Mayfield's not a great runner, but he'll run. Just because he's got to do what he's got to do to win. And he'll do anything to win. And Favre was very much like that. And pretty reckless, too. And Mayfield can still be that way.
The play he makes on the fourth down run on their game-winning drive last night is really elite. Like that. You'd see Allen get out of there, but that play looks like it's over. And he escapes, and then there's wide open field for him. So save the game for them. Tampa Bay 2-0. Houston 0-2. And their offense looks bad. Same offensive line questions. Maybe a lack of talent. After Nico Collins, they throw the ball to him, and he does amazing things. What else have they got? They probably need to get their rookie receivers. Day two rookies.
They're the two Iowa State guys.
Really not. Noel is looking good on the return game. He had a couple of moments last night, but really not much else is happening for the Texans. Sal Capaccio next. We'll get the latest on the Bills' practice today. Thursday night football coming up. Miami in town. We'll be out at the stadium for our show and the pregame stuff by the Ralph Wilson statue near Gate 5. We'll give you more details on that in the next couple of days. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, back with Sal after this on WGR.
It's Bulldog here to talk to you about something important.
For the Buffalo Bills, and no changes to the team's official injury report. Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, again, do not practice. Though, maybe some positive news for the rest of the week. Head coach Sean McDermott did speak to the media before practice and said Milano potentially could practice tomorrow. And the Barnes from Injury Report is brought to you by the Barnes from Injured. For help, call 1-800-8-million. Stay tuned. Coming up next, Sal Capaccio is going to join the show to give us the latest on what he saw today. Sal also has a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. The Vikings are putting running back Aaron Jones on IR. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to be out at least 4 weeks, and with that, Cam Akers is expected to sign with Minnesota. The Sabres released their 2025 training camp roster. On-ice practice is going to begin tomorrow, and then the season does not wait long. Preseason games will get underway next week. And then in baseball, 12 games left in the AL East race. Toronto currently has a 5-game lead on the Yankees, and the Jays, they are down in Tampa just after 7:30. Well, the Yankees, they're in Minnesota versus the Twins. That game will get going just after 7:40. And the Bisons, they are home against Scranton. First pitch any moment now, and you can listen to that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Fun day. Ross Tucker, Al Michaels, Sal coming up here. Also reverse AFC power rankings, where Kansas City came in at 6, possibly an all-time high for the Chiefs. Chargers at 3 for the second week in a row. We had them there after they beat the Chiefs last week and now after winning last night. How good are they?
They look pretty good.
Are they dangerous?
I think so.
Herbert feels like he's maybe there.
It seems insane to think that losing a great left tackle would end up benefiting them. And in the long run, it's 2 games, so it probably won't. But if they're leaning into throwing more because of that, I think that could be really good for them.
Saw Khalil Mack get hurt. Appreciated the 7 replays on that injury. Didn't really need 7. Sal Capaccio with us on the Westshore Hotline. Sal, how good are the Chargers for you?
Pretty good. Still limited, I think, a little bit. I think it seems like, yes, I still like Justin Herbert a lot. I think he's very talented. I still think they have to win a little bit of a more low-scoring game. I'm not sure they can win shootouts, but they have a good defense. I think they're well-coached, so they're a good team, and I think they're very, very much in the mix to, win the AFC West.
They're the betting favorite. Now, Herbert also the leading rusher for the Chargers last night, which is not
great.
Really
weird, right?
Right.
Wouldn't you think that team would be really good at running the football? But it seems like, as Bulldog was just pointing out, maybe they'll lean a little bit more into throwing, but maybe they have to change their identity a little bit because it doesn't seem like that's going to be their mantra.
Right. They moved all over to left tackle to replace Slater, right? And maybe that really just affects how they run the ball, because Alt has, he does everything really well. He's a very high pick, really tremendous tackle. But moving him from right to left maybe just messed with a lot of their schemes.
Yeah, we'll see. I think with their running game in Hampton, they look good, but I thought they'd be a little bit more like let's pound it at them and play defense. But we'll see. Maybe it's just also just what you think when you see Jim Harbaugh. Think about teams that he coaches, right? But Herbert's really talented, and I do think they're gonna be in this for a while.
Right. It's Harbaugh, but it's also that Roman is the coordinator. Like the two of them together, you just are expecting just rumble time here is what I'm thinking.
That's right.
Also not running the ball, Ashton Genty yet in 2 games. That hasn't really gone well. But still a long season ahead. All right, Sal, what's new from the Bills today? I know in terms of the injury report, there isn't much or even anything.
Well, nothing on the report is actually new. It's actually the exact same as yesterday, which isn't bad news because you had some guys return to practice this week, like Jordan Hancock, which is good, and be full participants again. And then 2 days in a row of limited for Taron Johnson. He sounds like he's gearing up to play. However, the news on Matt Milano that didn't necessarily change because we didn't get any new information other than Sean McDermott did actually say that, there's a chance he could practice tomorrow, and I think that's really encouraging. He also, I think the way he answered it, the question, the way it was worded, the way he answered, I think my interpretation was he's also not ruling out being a longer-term injury. But, guys, you've done this long enough. You know Coach McDermott long enough and have heard him talk long enough where if he's voluntarily willing to say potentially he could come back tomorrow, I think that's, he wouldn't do that, I think, unless they were pretty confident that things were going pretty well with it. He doesn't like to, put himself in that situation if it would be a long-term injury. So, sure, there could be more on the table here, but it just seems like it's leaning towards they avoided the worst-case scenario here with Matt Milano. Now, that doesn't mean he's playing on Thursday. It doesn't mean he's practicing tomorrow. I mean, it is a short week, but, man, that's, to me, good news.
So if it's a pec injury, is that what we think? Pectoral?
That's what
yeah. Like if it's torn, there's no need to play games. And they would know that by now. The guy on Tampa, Cansey, had that injury last night, out for the year. They already know it.
I agree with you, Mike. Like, generally – see, like even if you want to just get third, fourth opinions on it, right? You're generally going to have some sort of reporter knowledge of, well, we're still doing testing. He's going to be out this week. We'll see. That's not the messaging we got. The messaging we got was basically that, yeah, potentially he could wind up playing tomorrow. We'll see. Or, so to me, that's the opposite of that, which is, okay, it seems like it's not that severe compared to what you're talking about with the guys in Tampa.
Have you thought much today at all about why the wide variance, though? I mean, practice tomorrow, but still not ruling out that it could be a long-term injury. That is a big swath. And I'm not sure I can really. Is it just McDermott trying to be careful? Maybe is the best answer.
Yeah, I think so. I think to me it sounds like. To me, the way I'll interpret this is me saying it. I would say, okay, we're encouraged. It's a chance, but you know what? We got to still make sure before we do anything. There's more tests to be run, and also a lot of times just how you respond, right? Like maybe another day of treatment. Like make sure you respond the right way. So I just think, like you said, we know this coach doesn't want to paint himself into a corner ever by talking when he talks about injuries. So that feels something to me like, hey, I'm not going to say it's definitely, but it sounds like it's pretty good here.
Sal, how about Josh Allen after the nose injury on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, he made a quip that he's the third Bosa brother in the league because his nose is a little bit bigger, right? I mean, it's kind of funny there. But hey, I mean, he's ready to rock and roll. Really, not much else from him on that, other than just people ask a couple of questions about it. But he's wearing a visor now, guys. He's got a visor, and he did say the noise echoes a little bit in there. But other than that, it's nothing that he's not used to. He's done that before, and he's going to wear it again.
Okay, and he thinks he'll wear it for the game.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah, he'll wear it for the game. And now I'm trying to think. I know he's worn the visor in practice. I can't remember if he's actually worn it in the game.
I don't think I've ever seen him within a game. I think that would have come out today. He said he wore it in college.
Yeah,
at times.
Was. Thank you.
Is
yeah.
what he said. Yeah.
But anyway, he is wearing a visor just to protect himself. You could see the replay. Michael Clemens, of all people, basically punched him in the nose. And I don't think it was intentional. I think he was just going, that's my interpretation of watching the play. He's trying to make a play, and he's swiping maybe at the ball or whatever, and his hand went in and busted him.
I hope I didn't ask you this yesterday, but I might have. How big of a relief for you, Sal, was the Bills' performance on defense Sunday? Like, are you from whatever you were at, DEFCON-wise, after the Raven game to maybe the other end of the spectrum, or is it still only one game, as was the Baltimore game, and you might not want to draw too many conclusions? How much differently do you feel about them, if at all, a week, removed?
So I'm generally like this, but I think this was even more the case where, coaches always say, players always say, tape isn't as good as you think or as bad as you think. I didn't think that I wasn't as panicked or worried as I was after the Ravens game as many people. I also don't think suddenly they're the best defense in the league after watching them play the Jets, right? I mean, to me it was, boy, the Ravens did some nice things. They had a long time to prepare for the Bills, just like the Bills did. They had wrinkles. They were well coached. They quick counted the Bills. They weren't set. The Bills had a lot of guys getting time on task, like Cole Bishop. They didn't play a lot of their starters in the preseason, and give the Ravens credit. I'm not excusing it, but I thought that even though the Ravens really ran the ball well against the Bills, I didn't think that the Bills were as bad as they showed that game, and they would be better than that. But then you go against the Jets, and I thought they really concentrated on cleaning a lot of things up. They said that and they did that. But, man, I think the Jets are also pretty inept, to be honest with you, like right now. And from what I saw. Now, that said, they did play well against the Steelers, but I think that was a determined Bills team to make sure they stopped it. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but I thought it would be probably somewhere in the middle like that where, yeah, that's a if you play that Jets team again, maybe it goes that way, but I would think maybe they move the ball a little bit better and have some more of a plan and wrinkles there. But at the same time, I think you play the Ravens again, I don't think it goes exactly as poorly.
I know we got still a couple of more days to talk about it. This game's going to be here before we know it. What's your early read here on Tuesday of Miami coming in, Sal? I sort of talked myself into if they've got a last best punch coming, maybe this is it Thursday. And I don't know what that amounts to because they've seemed, they were better on Sunday against New England, but still they couldn't get it done, and they were a disaster in the opener, and the coach sounds really beleaguered. I don't know. I'm going to be sitting. I'm going to this game as a fan. Owen and I are going to this game, and we're sitting, 15 or so rows up on the Dolphins sideline, and I'm wondering if I'm going to see some sort of Tyreek Hill meltdown or something.
Plus 130.
I'll be sitting right there. I don't know. What's your read on where they're at right now?
I agree with you that if there's anything left there for them to have any sort of punchback pride, thinking about what their season could be, it's got to come this week. And, this is a storied rival. It's their last time ever coming to the stadium, unless they make the playoffs, obviously. It's a storyline in of itself, but it's a division game. And these are games you never can always, count on everything going exactly the way you thought it would go. And we've seen that before. Al Michaels said it when he was on with you guys. Shout out to you guys having Al Michaels on again. He said it, and I agree, which is, this is sports. Anything can happen. These are division games. Guys, the Miami Dolphins came here with Skylar Thompson at quarterback in the playoffs and had the lead in the second half against the Bills, right? So you just never know. That being said, the Bills are clearly the better team. The Bills are getting a little bit healthier than they were last week with Taron Johnson getting back. We'll see. No Ed Oliver. So I do think that the Bills should take care of business here. And I just wonder, and I've asked some people in Miami if they think this is the case, that if things don't go Miami's way, like really poorly, could they actually move on from Mike McDaniel and or Chris Greer? The sense I'm getting is they wouldn't do anything on Greer yet. McDaniel could be on the table, but probably still too early for that.
Okay. One more for me. So it's not time for Tyler Bass yet to come off IR, but his replacement hasn't missed, Matt Prater. Do you have any knowledge on just how this might play out if Prater continues to go well and Bass is then later eligible to come off? Like, would they necessarily bring him off IR? Do they have the option of waiting as long as they want to do that?
Yeah, I don't know what the plan would be. They can keep him on IR all year. They can keep him on IR until December and then decide to play him. The only thing, the way it works is, I'm glad you asked because a lot of people kind of wonder about this. So anybody who goes on injured reserve now, like when the season starts, like Tyler Bass, after 4 weeks, they're eligible to start practicing. Once they start practicing, there's 21 days where the team must activate them to the active roster or they are done for the year. So let's just say after 4 games, the Bills say, all right, we're going to have Tyler Bass start practicing. From that moment, they have to make a decision within 21 days what's going to happen with him and put him on the active roster. So in order to avoid that, even if he's healthy, they can just keep him on IR as long as they want. And then maybe later in the year, weather gets a little tougher, maybe an older kicker, they don't have as much strength in the leg, Tyler Bass is getting stronger, and they feel, you know what, we need something a little different. At that point, they could say, guess what, we're activating Tyler Bass's window. And but they can make that decision at any point after 4 weeks.
Well, I'm glad Mike thought to ask you that because that came up yesterday, and I even deferred. I said, we'll have to ask Sal what if there's an expiration date on that 4-week thing. And you're saying there's not. So I think that's really good news because I wouldn't want to change anything right now. Like if Bass were eligible to come off, I wouldn't want the guys have missed. But that can change, we know, like with kickers, old ones, young ones, inexperienced ones, experienced ones, whatever. They get in a cold streak, you might want an alternative. So it's good to know.
And by the way, that goes for everybody, obviously. So it's not just Tyler Bass, it's Max Harrison. Max Harrison, after 4 weeks, he doesn't have to start practicing. They can have him start or not. They can keep him on IR until they feel like he can start. But once you start practicing, you have 21 days from that date to get put on the active roster, and a roster move has to be made, or you are on IR for the year. And that also includes, by the way, Gabe Davis, who's on practice squad injured. But the same thing, after 4 games, then they can make that decision. But the key is they can't practice at all until they decide to do that. It's not like they can start practicing just to see where they're at. They have to make that decision at that time.
Very good. Sal, we'll let you go here. Thanks for your time.
All right, guys, you got it.
It's our man Sal Capaccio on the Wester Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I forgot about Gabe Davis.
Me too. I kind of forgot about Max Hairston.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean, just being honest. It's like, oh, yeah. The first-round pick. Yeah, I remember him.
That will be interesting, too. Somebody called postgame and, like, Trey White's going to be an all-pro. I'm like, well, for that to happen, which would be incredible, Hairston maybe just doesn't ever make it back. I mean, that's not what they want. I think they'd want him to matter here and even start maybe as we go along, but who knows if that'll happen. I think the plan is for that. Our plan is for Ross Tucker to be on every Tuesday, and we're going to have that conversation from earlier in the show for you next. He'll be broadcasting the game on the national radio broadcast Thursday night, so he'll be in town. And Al Michaels was on our show today, too. He's coming up later this hour. He'll, as always, be the Thursday night voice for Amazon Prime. So we'll have Ross and Al Michaels here coming up right ahead. Tomorrow, Marcel Louis-Jacques, who covers the Dolphins, formerly had covered the Bills, will join us tomorrow afternoon, and we'll talk to Sal again, I'm sure. Thursday night game. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Thanks for being with us. This is WGR. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. Earlier today, we talked to Ross Tucker, who